Hello? Is this the Department of Defense? I want to report an incident. There's a Resident Evil dungeon spawned on my wall. Hurry up and save me! Through the circular portal of light, you can see a ruined restaurant inside, rotting away. There are dried traces of some unknown liquid on the ground. Outside the window, pitch-black rain is sweeping across the ruins. A few zombies are staggering in the rain. In the distance, the silhouette of some giant humanoid creature flickers in and out of sight. Close the door. Close it right now. Following the intense fluctuation of my thoughts, the blue vortex on the wall suddenly shrank and vanished without a trace. I really am a genius. With this sudden windfall dropping from the sky, handing it over to the state is definitely the smartest choice. 10 or so minutes later, a knock on the door. Are you the one who called it in? Yes. Officer, did you guys bring guns? Hey, buddy. How much have you had to drink to be asking for guns? Why don't you ask if we brought handcuffs while you're at it? Young man, you reported a Resident Evil portal appearing in your house. And you said there were zombies? I know this sounds like I'm out of my mind, but whatever you see in a minute, absolutely do not move. Don't touch it, and don't get close to it. Got it? When the two of them saw the ruined, desolate world behind the portal, they both couldn't help but gasp. Is this a holographic projection? Has 3D technology gotten this advanced? This isn't special effects. Hold on a second. Saying that, I quickly ran into the kitchen. 10 seconds later, I walked out holding a live chicken. Watch closely. I threw the hen straight into the portal. The terrified hen had barely reached the restaurant door when it let out a blood-curdling screech. Its feathers quickly charred black, withered, and began to mutate. The living room was dead silent. Calling command center. This is badge number 9527, Haiyun City. An unexplained special incident has occurred at room 302, building 4, Xingfu Jiayuan Complex. It's not a criminal case. It's not a fire. There's a portal here leading to hell. Requesting SWAT backup, requesting hazmat units, requesting immediate lockdown of the entire residential complex. This is a biochemical threat. This is not a drill, I repeat. This is not a drill. The once peaceful Xingfu Jiayuan complex now had fighter jets and patrol helicopters circling the sky. On the ground, police cars and armored vehicles formed a tight, multi-layered perimeter. Inside the temporary command room, Lin Han, 24 years old, native of Haining City, freelance designer, parents passed away early, no criminal record. No history of mental illness. Half an hour ago, you claimed a door to a parallel world opened on your wall. We've verified it. Our technicians just went inside and used drones to conduct a preliminary sweep. The air sample analysis results are in. Aside from containing a large amount of an unidentified viral aerosol, the oxygen levels, gravity, and even the atmospheric pressure are completely identical to Earth's. That place is truly another Earth. Then what about my house? Your house is now a level 1 national classified site. The residents of the entire building have signed NDAs and have been relocated. From now on, that place no longer belongs to you. Or rather, it no longer belongs to the civilian, Lin Han. Then what about me? Am I going to be sliced up for research? On Chen Guofeng's stern face, a rare hint of a smile appeared. No, you're far more valuable than that. At this moment, General Jao, a man you'd normally only see on military news broadcasts, walked in. Young comrade, tonight must have been quite a scare for you, huh? Alright, I'm fully briefed on the situation. Can you control that door? Like opening, closing, or moving it? I can open and close it. I control it with my mind. But I can't move it. Also, I can feel that the size of the door seems to be linked to me, but I don't fully understand it yet. Being able to open and close it is good enough. Young comrade, I am now officially asking you a question on behalf of the nation. What does this door mean? I'm sure you know, it's a crisis. If the virus from over there leaks over here, it will be an apocalyptic disaster for us. But it's also an opportunity. A brand new parallel world possessing unknown technology and resources. You hold the key to opening it. What do you plan to do? I stayed silent, even though I had an answer ready when I reported it. Actually facing figures of this national caliber, the pressure still made it a bit hard to breathe. Sir, I'm just an ordinary citizen. I don't understand any grand philosophies. But I know I can't swallow what's over there all by myself. So, I'm handing this door over to the state, but I have one condition. Go ahead. I want the absolute protection of the nation. Not just protecting me from being eaten by the monsters over there, but also protecting me from being exploited by people with ulterior motives. I only trust the state. Comrade Lin Han, the nation has received your trust. We are immediately establishing the Tinder Strategic Special Operations Bureau. Comrade Lin Han is exceptionally recruited into the official roster, granted the civilian rank of Major, and appointed as the special advisor for Project Tinder. You will receive regimental level benefits. Your immediate family members will be placed on the level 1 security list. I stood outside the quarantine glass wall, watching 6 heavily armed soldiers standing ready in front of the circle of light. All units, attention. This is not a drill. Chen Guofeng's voice echoed through the comms channel. This is a cross-dimensional expedition. Our primary objective is to confirm the safety of the environment. Secondary objective is to collect samples. Remember, safety comes first. If you encounter uncontrollable danger, retreat immediately. I took a deep breath and raised my right hand. Even though I only needed a thought to control it, I was still used to making this gesture. Countdown. Chen Guofeng gave the order. 3, 2, open the door. My mind shifted. The dark blue vortex rapidly expanded. Every weapon was closely monitored by the negative pressure system. Environmental monitoring team reporting. Report: radiation levels on the other side of the passage are slightly elevated, but still within safe limits. Oxygen concentration matches Earth's. Viral aerosol reactions detected, but activity is extremely low. No possibility of airborne transmission. Confirmed. No risk of airborne infection. Captain Lei Long, holding the rank of lieutenant colonel, took the lead and stepped into the vortex. Like passing through a film of water, the next second, he was standing in a ruined room. Vanguard 1, do you copy? Comms check. Bizz. Vanguard 1 reporting. Signal strength is good. Ready to proceed. Copy that. Command Center. I have successfully reached the target area. Visual confirmation. Indoor environment. Architectural structure is severely damaged, but there is no immediate risk of collapse. On the command center's large screen, Lei Long's first-person feed appeared. Dust covered the ground, mold stains in the corners, and a dried pool of pitch-black blood. The remaining 5 members entered one by one, deploying into formation with professional precision. Captain, take a look at this. A team member was digging through the rubble in the corner. Wiping away the thick layer of dust, revealed a crushed iron street sign. It read, Haishan City, Number 3 High School. Under the sign was a tattered backpack. A few books spilled out from inside. 5 years of gaishokao, 3 years of mock exams. The command center was dead silent. Chen Guofeng's voice was hoarse. Simplified Chinese. Haishan City gaokao materials. Combined with the gravity environment and identical atmospheric composition, I don't think there's any doubt left. This isn't some alien planet, nor is it some demon realm. This is Earth in a parallel world. I stared at the screen, my heart filled with mixed emotions. Even though I had guessed it, seeing these familiar traces of civilization with my own eyes, the shock still took my breath away. Wait, we've got a situation. Lei Long's voice suddenly grew urgent. There's movement outside. The screen switched to Lei Long's main perspective. He was holding his gun, aiming straight out the window, zooming in the lens. A dark shadow flashed by, grotesque, like a humanoid predator. It suddenly lunged forward, raising its head to look straight up at the 3rd floor. That was a face, no nose. The corners of its mouth torn all the way to its ears. Team, prepare for combat. Lei Long's voice was terrifyingly calm. Target locked. Permission to fire. All units, attention. Target detected. Analyzing target. Characteristics. The tactical analyst spoke at lightning speed. Quadrupedal movement. Extremely fast movement speed. Grayish-white skin. High signs of putrefaction. Preliminary assessment. An entity infected by an unknown virus. Looks like a hairless monkey, doesn't it? I couldn't help but mutter. That's no monkey. Chen Guofeng pointed at the data on the screen. Based on the skeletal structure analysis, it used to be human. It's just undergone severe mutation. Moreover, look at its nails. The image was magnified. That monster's nails were about 10 centimeters long, gleaming with a metallic sheen. The monster downstairs lost its patience. Its hind leg muscles suddenly tensed. It's jumping. I cried out in alarm. This is the 3rd floor. Yeah, like an arrow leaving the bow. It launched itself from the ground, latched onto the 2nd floor security bars, and closed in on the 3rd floor window. Its speed is too fast, analyst. Record the data. Recommending raising the threat level to low. Facing the pouncing monster, Li Long didn't even blink. The exact moment the monster leaped, he pulled the trigger. Bang, bang. 3 crisp shots. The first bullet shattered a sharp horn on the monster's head. The second bullet hit it dead in the forehead. The corpse flipped mid-air and crashed heavily onto the street below. Target neutralized, Lei Long calmly reported. Confirmed kill. Head is the weak point. Corpse is downstairs. Awaiting orders. Zhao Jianguo slammed his hand on the table. Looks like this thing isn't so mystical after all. As long as the laws of physics still apply, our firearms are still effective. I also breathed a sigh of relief. My biggest fear was the kind of monster that's invulnerable to weapons. If bullets can kill them, things are much easier to handle. Tech team, attention. Chen Guofeng's voice carried a hint of excitement. Immediately. Collect samples. This is primary data, the freshest kind. I want to know its muscle density, bone hardness, and exactly what that black nail is made of. Vanguard 2, follow me downstairs to collect samples. The rest of you hold the perimeter on the 3rd floor. The 2 of them quickly descended to the ground, dragged the monster's corpse into the 1st floor lobby, and began sampling. Reporting to command. The soldier in charge of sampling reported. Preliminary tests show high concentrations of active virus in the target's body. Additionally, its bone density is 1.5 times that of a normal human. Muscle fiber strength is twice that of a normal human. Those nails, the main composition is a mixture of keratin and metallic elements. The hardness is close to steel. Metallic elements? Chen Guofeng was stunned. How did it assimilate metal? Maybe it ingested some mutated creature containing metal. Or the virus itself can absorb metallic elements from the environment. Fascinating. Chen Guofeng pushed up his glasses. If we can decode this biological metallization mechanism, our bulletproof vest and tank armor materials could undergo a revolution. Incredible. They're already thinking about scientific research. I listened, dumbfounded. Is this how the national team thinks? Captain, we've got a new situation. Anomaly detected at 12 o'clock. The voice of the perimeter guard rang out in the comms channel. Lei Long pressed against the window, seeing the zombies at the end of the street drawn by the earlier screech converging in this direction. 12 o'clock direction. Estimated numbers exceed 50. Lei Long reported. They are approaching our position. Awaiting orders. Zhao Jianguo waved his hand dismissively. Exploratory contact is over. Right now, we need a solid bridgehead. Order the hazmat engineering detachment to enter the site immediately. Use the room with the dimensional portal to establish. Outpost 0. Tell the soldiers there's no need to conserve ammo. In this world, truth lies within firing range. All teams, attention. Fire at will. Lei Long's voice rang out. The commander has spoken. Send them on their way with lead. Roger that. The rifles sticking out of the 3rd floor windows wove a deadly net. In less than a minute, over 50 zombies were completely reduced to corpses. Targets cleared. Excellent. Zhao Jianguo issued his second order. Engineering Detachment 1, enter the site. Establish Outpost 0 immediately. A group of soldiers in special ops gear charged into the dimensional portal. Their movements were blindingly fast. Airtight bulkheads deployed. Commencing pressurization. Connecting the air circulation system. Installing power transmission lines. I felt like a mere lucky charm, completely underestimating the technical prowess of these master builders. Within 5 minutes, the 4 walls of the ruined room were completely covered in a silver-white alloy. The soldiers used spray guns to inject copolymer into the gaps. This adhesive solidifies within 10 seconds of contact with the air, creating a molecular-level seal. Chen Guofeng stood next to me, explaining, "Forget about viral aerosols. Not even nerve gas can get through. Not a single bit." Next, air purifiers and ventilation ducts were quickly installed. The connections use magnetic quick connect couplers. It's an emergency disconnect system. Chen Guofeng explained. If an uncontrollable threat emerges, or if you need to perform an emergency shutdown of the portal, this connector can be released with the push of a button, and the gate will automatically seal in 0.1 seconds. Absolutely no delays. That sent a chill down my spine. They've really thought of everything. Report. Core area of Outpost 0 has passed the air tightness test. Internal pressure has been adjusted to positive pressure mode. Report. Power systems are successfully online. Voltage is stable. Report. Military-grade broadband communication base station installation is complete. Full signal strength. In less than 20 minutes, a modern, sci-fi-esque forward outpost was fully constructed. It's done already? I was completely stunned. Basic construction is complete. Zhao Jianguo turned to me. Comrade Lin Han, get ready. We need you to go through. You are the master of the gate, after all. His gaze was firm. We need to test whether the gate remains stable when you yourself are on the other side. Besides, there are some things that perhaps only you can sense. The one-sided slaughter from before had given me a huge sense of security. I'll go. 10 minutes later, I was wearing a specially made lightweight protective suit, standing before the Gate of Light. My bedroom had been transformed into a temporary command center. Let's go. Zhou Jianguo personally escorted me, flanked by 4 guards. I nodded and stepped through the Gate of Light. The feeling under my feet changed. The wooden floor gave way to non-slip steel plating. The air had a faint smell of ozone. Welcome to Outpost 0. Commander, Lei Long gave a military salute. Then he nodded at me. I looked around. Through the bulletproof glass observation window on the wall, I saw this apocalypse with my own eyes for the first time. The sky was gray. The streets were in chaos. The corpses of zombies lay scattered everywhere, soaking in pools of black blood. What's the status of the gate? Chen Gofeng's voice came over the radio. Very stable, a technician replied. Preliminary tests show that regardless of which side Comrade Lin Han is on, the portal maintains a stable, open state. Excellent. Zhao Jianguo walked over to the observation window. He pointed into the distance. There's a jewelry store on the street corner. The display cases were reflecting an alluring light. It's a gold shop. My eyes widened. Looks like our luck isn't half bad. Zhao Jianguo smiled. We just got here and we've already found some hard currency. In this era, gold is just scrap metal, I muttered. He clapped me on the shoulder. But on Earth, it's been the most solid currency for the past 100 years. With it, we can trade for more steel, more microchips, and more food. Comrade Lin Han, get ready to be a porter. We've hit the jackpot. The next morning, the 6 members of the Outpost 0 team, Squad 1 is on Overwatch, Squad 2 has 7 soldiers, Squad 3 is carrying sacks and military shovels. Lei Long was giving the briefing. Target, the corner gold shop. Distance, 150 meters. Threat level. I stood at the observation window, holding a cup of hot soy milk. Zhao Jianguo had given a strict order. Until the surrounding area was completely cleared, I was not to take a single step outside the outpost. I was in full support of that. Move out, a squad moved out in single file. The suppressed crack of their rifles, firing 1 shot at a time, became the only sound of the morning. Through Lei Long's body, cam, it was like I was right there with them. 5 minutes later, they reached the gold shop. Confirmed clear. Lei Long led the team inside. No zombies. Tactical flashlights switched on. The inside of the store was instantly bathed in a brilliant golden light. Holy crap. Looking at the monitor, I couldn't help but swear. Gold statues, gold bracelets, gold rings scattered like trash on the display cases and the floor. Lei Long picked up a gold bar and wiped it on his shirt. He held it up to the camera. Advisor Lin, what do you think of this design? On Earth, with the current price of gold, this thing is over 600 yuan a gram. This 1 bar is worth 60,000 yuan, I muttered to myself. Over here, it's not even as valuable as a pack of instant noodles. That's to be expected. Chen Guofeng's voice came through. Gold's value lies in the social consensus that it's a universal medium of exchange. When the social order collapses, that consensus vanishes. In this world, the only real hard currency is survival resources. Food, medicine. But for us, on our side, Chen Guofeng paused for a moment. It's still the lifeblood of industry. It's foreign exchange reserves. It's the hard currency needed to buy advanced technology and strategic materials. Stop gawking. Lei Long, start collecting the gold. Get to work. The scene that followed was something else. One soldier smashed the glass case with the butt of his rifle. Then another shoveled the gold, silver, and jewelry, along with the glass shards, into a military crate with a shovel. There's a safe here, too. Blow it, Lei Long said casually. Boom. A muffled explosion rang out. The thick anti-theft door was blown off its hinges. Inside were dozens of 1-kilogram gold bars and a pile of what was now just waste paper. Lei Long picked up a bill. 1 Pitad credit point. It was printed with an image of a space elevator and a map of East Asia with no national borders. East Asian Commonwealth Central Bank. A space elevator, a unified region. My mind was reeling. This was a civilization with extremely advanced technology. They might have even entered the space age, and yet it was still destroyed. The soldiers stacked the gold bars neatly like bricks into the transport crates. On Li Long's orders, they also collected the worthless paper money and any electronic devices with chips. Captain, report. Inventory complete. A soldier reported half an hour later. Preliminary estimate, total gold weight is approximately 52 kilograms. Additionally, 15 kilograms of platinum, 52 kilograms of gemstones like diamonds and jadeite, over 30 million in cash. And this was just one small gold shop. I felt like I couldn't breathe. This wasn't a wasteland. It was a treasure trove. On the way back, the soldiers carried the sacks and crates full of gold as easily as if they were carrying potatoes. 20 minutes later, I finally got to touch one of those heavy gold bars. It felt so surreal. Zhao Jianguo looked at the spoils of their mission, a satisfied smile on his face. With this seed money, we can be much more aggressive with our subsequent acquisition plans. He looked at me. Comrade Lin Han, you've made a great contribution. We owe you yet again. Sir, it was nothing. I put the gold bar down. Compared to this, I'm more interested in the images Captain Li Long just sent back. I looked out the window toward the distant city center. If we can find a bank vault there, or the servers of a tech company, my gaze sharpened. That's the real treasure. Zhao Jianguo nodded in approval. No need to rush. We'll take it one step at a time. Zhao Jianguo turned to Li Long. What's the status of the drone reconnaissance? Report. A technician brought up the screen. Drone Hummingbird B has just detected a unique heat source in an abandoned building 2 kilometers from here. On the screen, a bright red dot stood out. A heat source? I leaned in closer. Not just a heat source. The technician zoomed in on the image. Based on spectral analysis, this appears to be a signal from sunlight reflecting off hard surface. It's very rhythmic, like Morse code. Morse code? Zhao Jianguo's eyes narrowed. It translates to SOS. The technician replied. It's repeating. 3 short, 3 long, 3 short. The command room fell silent. A survivor. Chen Guofeng pushed up his glasses. His tone was certain. Zhao Jianguo was silent for a moment. Then he gave a decisive order. Make contact. We need a local guide. The contact plan has been established, Chen Guofeng said, pointing to a tactical map. The target is located in an abandoned building approximately 2.1 kilometers from Outpost 0. Based on the heat signature analysis, the survivor is alone. Alone? I was a little surprised. In a hellhole like this, how could anyone survive on their own? That's exactly what we need to find out, Zhao Jianguo said in a low voice. Anyone who can survive alone in the apocalypse is no ordinary person. We need their survival experience. More importantly, we need their knowledge of this world. Operation code, ask for directions, executing unit, 1st Recon Squad, Special Operations Brigade, equipped with a Hummingbird drone. Sir, yes sir. Li Long stood at attention and saluted. I will ensure the mission is completed. For this operation, I could only be a spectator again. What if they're hostile? I couldn't help but ask, courtesy before force. Zhao Jianguo said calmly, we come with good intentions. But if they refuse our goodwill, then we have enough firepower to help them calm down. In the afternoon, 2 Vanguard drones took off. Li Long led 4 scouts closely behind, using the shadows of the buildings to advance swiftly and silently. Stay hidden. Li Long's voice came through the comms. Target spotted 300 meters ahead, straight ahead. On the screen, I saw a monster crawling on the roof of a bus. 10 minutes later, we reached the abandoned building complex. Target is on the top floor of Building 3, Li Long reported. Through the drone's camera, a frail woman was holding a broken makeup mirror, adjusting its angle toward the sun. She was wearing a filthy set of work coveralls. At her feet was a crude, makeshift water filter. Next to it was a chipped bowl with only a thin layer of murky water. She was clearly at the end of her rope. She's using the mirror to signal for help. Using such a traditional SOS method, looks like communication devices have been down for a long time. This proves she hasn't given up hope yet. Chen Guo. Feng analyzed calmly. A strong will to live is a good thing. Desire gives us a basis for negotiation. So tragic, I muttered, looking at that bowl of murky water. The sheer desperation of struggling to survive like this deeply pained me. Captain, should we make contact? The observer asked. Zhao Jianguo nodded. Execute Plan A. Drop the supplies. Establish initial trust. The drone slowly descended. The woman on the rooftop was instantly on high alert. She grabbed a sharpened steel rebar, hiding behind a concrete pillar. staring intently at the drone. "Don't be afraid." A gentle, synthesized voice came from the drone's speaker. "We mean you no harm." The woman said nothing, only gripping the steel bar tighter. Thud! The drone dropped a transparent sealed bag, landing precisely in front of her. Inside was a block of compressed rations, a blister pack of amoxicillin, and a 550 milliliter bottle of mineral water. In that bleak, apocalyptic world, that bottle of water was like a diamond. I could clearly see her gulping. It was a primal thirst crushing all reason. "This is just a greeting gift." The voice from the drone spoke again. "If you are willing to trade, we need some intel. We can provide more food and water like this." The woman stared at the water bottle, her eyes struggling with hesitation for a few moments. Finally, she carefully snatched the package. She aggressively tore open the packaging, twisted off the bottle cap, and took just a tiny sip. She closed her eyes, slowly savoring it. 2 streams of hot tears rolled down her dirt-streaked face. "Contact successful," Li Long's voice echoed in the comms channel. "The fish has taken the bait." Watching this scene, my heart was filled with mixed emotions. Just a single bottle of water was enough to break her defenses. To a drowning person, a single straw is their entire world. Zhao Jiangguo looked at the screen, his gaze profound, and in our hands, we hold an entire Noah's Ark. As the sweet liquid slid down her throat, the woman, named Suan, quickly regained her composure. As a former virologist, rationality was her instinct. She protectively clutched the remaining water, looked up, her eyes regaining their scrutinizing and calculating look. The other party had drones, purified water, and medicine. There was only one conclusion. This was a powerful faction with a complete industrial production line. "What do you want?" Suwan's voice was hoarse but clear. "I don't have any supplies. I only have my life and the knowledge in my head. We want intel." The drone's voice remained gentle. "About this city, about the zombies, and the distribution of current factions. The more detailed, the better." Suan took a deep breath and pulled out a folded map. It was covered in various colored markings. "This is the information I've gathered over the past 3 months." She unfolded the map in front of the camera. "The red zones are heavily infected areas. Whatever you do, don't go there. There are tyrants and even spitters roaming around. The blue zones are safe houses and supply points, but most of them have already been scavenged clean. The black X marks are territories controlled by the Black Steel Syndicate. They've occupied the industrial park in the north of the city. They're heavily armed and extremely xenophobic. They capture survivors to use as slaves, or even as test subjects. This girl is a natural at intelligence gathering." Chen Guofeng immediately ordered the technicians to take screenshots. "Quick, input this data into the tactical map. And anything else?" I asked through the microphone. "Besides this, is there any special news? For example, anything unusual?" Suwan thought for a moment, a flash of disgust and fear in her eyes. "Recently, the Black Steel Syndicate has been frantically collecting zombie heads." "Heads?" I was stunned. "More accurately, the thing inside their heads," Suwan explained. "I saw it from a distance once. After their hunting squads kill a mutated zombie, they cut open the back of its neck and extract something that looks like a crystal." The word crystal struck me like a bolt of lightning. I instinctively looked toward Zhao Jiangguo and Chen Guofeng. Chen Guofeng suddenly rushed to the microphone, asking rapidly, "What color is that crystal? How big is it? Does it glow?" Suwan replied, "Most of them are grayish-white, only about the size of a fingernail. But I once saw them sacrifice an entire squad just to fight over a red crystal. Crystal core." Chen Guo Feng took a deep breath, his voice trembling with excitement. "Commander, if I'm not mistaken, this could be an entirely new type of high-energy matter. Ask her if she knows its specific use," Zhao Jiangguo said in a deep voice. "I know a little," Suan said. "I heard the Black Steel people call it Blood God. They believe this thing can grant humans power, but the side effects are massive. Direct consumption leads to death or mutation. Grant power." My heart was pounding wildly. For the two-way portal to upgrade, it definitely needs some kind of special energy. Could this be it? Comrade Lin Han, Zhao Jiangguo, suddenly spoke up. "It seems we need to have a more in-depth contact with this survivor." He looked at the woman on the screen, a hint of admiration flashing in his eyes. "Bring her back here," Zhao Jiangguo ordered. "We need her. Your intel is very valuable." The drone's voice sounded again. "In return, We can provide you with shelter. If you're willing, we can take you to a safe place. There's clean water there, hot food, no zombies, and no Black Steel Syndicate. Suan was stunned. In this hellhole, could such a place really exist? As she looked down at the mineral water bottle in her hand, the words of refusal died in her throat. Suan bit her lip, her voice trembling. I accept. Excellent. The drone slowly ascended. Stay right where you are. Do not move. Our extraction team is downstairs. Also, one more question. The voice suddenly asked her. What is your profession? Suan paused for a moment, straightened her back, exuding a unique aura. My name is Suan, Director of Lab 3 at the Haishan Biotechnology Research Institute. The C virus was discovered by us right there. When Suan revealed her identity, a brief silence fell over the command center. What we had just picked up wasn't merely a survivor, but a living treasure trove of knowledge. Escort her back to the outpost immediately, Zhao Jiangguo ordered decisively. Raise security to the highest level. Lei Long, if you encounter any resistance, you are authorized to use any means necessary. Understood. 15 minutes later, Suan was brought into Outpost 0. As she stepped through the airtight door and saw that sci-fi-esque silver-white space, she was completely dumbfounded. This wasn't a survivor camp. It looked more like a pre-apocalypse national-level laboratory. Welcome, Dr. Su? I smiled and reached out my hand to her. I'm Lin Han. Allow me to introduce myself. This is, well, you can think of this as a special operations base. I'm Suan, she said softly, but her eyes couldn't help darting toward the steaming, self-heating meal tray on the table. You must be starving. I pushed the meal tray in front of her. Eat first. We can talk after you're full. Suan practically lunged at it, shoveling huge mouthfuls of rice into her mouth. The piping hot food burned her so much that tears streamed down her face, but she swallowed it all down, tears and all. Watching this, my heart ached a little. 10 minutes later, the tray was licked clean. Thank you. Her eyes had become clear again, even carrying a hint of sharpness. Now we can discuss our deal. No rush. Chen Guo Feng stepped forward, holding a sealed bag in his hand. Inside was a grayish-white crystal. It was the very one Li Long had just dug out of a tyrant's head. Dr. Su, is this the crystal core you mentioned earlier? Suan glanced at it, her pupils shrinking slightly. That's right. This is the lowest grade crystal core, usually found inside level 1 mutants. What exactly is it? Chen Guofeng stared at her intently. We call it a high-energy biological aggregate. Suan slipped into her professional mode. The C virus restructures the organism's energy metabolism system, concentrating energy in the brain to form this type of crystal. To put it simply, it's essentially the mutant's battery. A battery? My heart skipped a beat. Exactly. Suan continued. The Black Steel Syndicate discovered that swallowing these crystal cores directly has a minuscule chance of enhancing the body, but the mortality rate is as high as 99%. Energy. My attention was entirely focused on that word. I instinctively reached out, touching the crystal core through the sealed bag. The moment my fingertip made contact, buzz. Foosh. A clear chime suddenly echoed in my mind. Following that, a semi-transparent info panel gradually materialized on my retina. Absorbable energy detected. Level 1 biological crystal core energy. Purity, 12%. Contains large amounts of impurities. Converts to 12 energy points. Absorb. Current two-way portal level, LV, 1. Upgrade progress, 0-100. Upgrade effect, expand spatial portal to 5 by 5 meters. Unlock stable matter transmission pathway. Allow heavy motorized vehicles to pass through. I was dumbfounded. Then, a wave of wild ecstasy washed over me. Just as I thought, this was the key to upgrading. This was exactly why I handed it over to the state, borrowing the nation's power to hunt mutants and harvest crystal cores to upgrade the two-way portal. A perfect closed loop. Comrade Lin Han, are you all right? Chen Guofeng noticed my unusual reaction. I snapped back to reality, suppressing my excitement, realizing this wasn't the place to talk. Commander, I have an important situation to report. I signaled to Zhao Jiangguo, pointing at the encrypted comms room next door. It's about the use of this crystal core. The airtight door slid shut. Speak, Zhao Jiangguo looked at me. Commander, I know what this thing is used for. I took a deep breath. It can charge the portal. Charge it? Yes. I pointed toward the glowing portal. The moment I touched it just now, I received feedback. This thing can provide the energy needed to upgrade the two-way portal. As long as we have enough of them, I can expand the portal, even enough to fit a tank through. That single sentence made the entire command center instantly boil over with excitement. How many do you need? Zhao Jianguo asked directly. If it's this low-grade crystal core, I'd estimate about 100 of them, I calculated. So Jianguo turned to look at the tactical map, his eyes landing on a red-marked zombie cluster. His gaze turned incredibly sharp. Where is Lei Long? Notify the entire Special Ops Brigade to assemble. Zhao Jianguo pointed at the red dot on the map, his tone ironclad. Lock down this area for me. If those monsters have the energy source we need in their heads, then they are no longer a threat. They are walking ore deposits. From now on, we begin mining operations. After issuing the mining order, Zhao Jianguo's eyes fell back onto the real-time feed of Suan. Since Dr. Su's identity has been verified, I suggest we immediately transfer her to a level P4 laboratory, Chen Guofeng said. No. Zhao Jianguo flatly refused. Until we completely rule out the virus's incubation period and the risk of mutation, she is absolutely not allowed to step through that portal. Behind us are 1.4 billion of our people. We cannot afford that risk. He turned and issued an order. Order the engineering company to speed up their progress. Finish the lockdown of the entire Outpost 0 building, ASAP. In apartment 301, right next to the portal room, construct a fully airtight medical isolation chamber. If she can't come over here for now, then we will bring civilization over to her. After a full day of sweeping by the Special Ops Brigade, Building 4 and its surrounding area had been cleared out. The engineers were sealing all the windows with thick steel plates. My voice echoed through the loudspeaker. Dr. Su, you've probably realized it by now. We're from another world. For quarantine and safety reasons, we can't let you through the gate just yet. But in the medical bay of room 301 right next door, you'll be completely safe. Suan gave a bitter smile. She knew she was a potential source of infection. I understand. She took a deep breath. Just give me a sip of clean water and I'll be fine anywhere. As she stepped into the makeshift medical bay in room 301, she was still stunned by the level of professionalism. A silver-white, negative-pressure isolation tent. All sorts of brand-new medical equipment blinked with indicator lights. ECG monitors, analyzers, blood gas, a multi-slice CT scanner. She ran her hand over the machine's casing. They looked a bit bulky, but they were all brand new and perfectly maintained. 2 female medics guided her to the bathroom. A stream of warm, pure water gushed out. Suan stood frozen under the shower, as if trying to wash away every trace left by 12 years of the apocalypse. After she was clean and had changed into a fresh patient gown, Suan lay on the soft medical bed. Just then, the transfer window of the isolation bay opened. I stood outside the window in a light protective suit, holding a food tray. Dr. Su, General Zhao gave specific orders. Your stomach hasn't had anything greasy in a long time, so your first meal can't be too rich. This is a specially prepared nutritional meal. I smiled through the glass. I brought it to you myself. Think of it as a welcome from a fellow countryman. The food container was opened. Inside was a bowl of millet porridge, a plate of green vegetables, 2 boiled eggs, and a small bowl of glistening, reddish-brown braised pork. Suan stared at that bowl of meat. Across the chasm of 12 years, the long-forgotten fragrant scent of meat struck her heart. This is for me. Suan's voice was thick with emotion. Go on, eat. There's plenty, I said gently. Suan picked up the spoon, her hand trembling. She scooped up a piece of meat and put it in her mouth. In that instant, her heart, which had been tense for so long, simply shattered. She covered her mouth, her choked sobs turning into desperate, wailing cries. Crying, she desperately shoved food into her mouth. Her tears fell into the porridge, mingling with the braised pork as she swallowed. She was just a suffering soul who had struggled in hell for 12 years, finally tasting the flavors of the living world again. I stood quietly outside the window, silently passing her a pack of tissues. A long while later, Suan had eaten everything. When she dried her tears and looked up again, the vulnerability in her eyes was gone. In its place was an unprecedented resolve. Lin Han. Suan looked at me, her voice hoarse but firm. I know what you're worried about. I'm a virologist. I understand the horror of the C virus better than anyone. I will stay here and cooperate with all of your research. I will give you everything I know about this world. She glanced toward the wall, as if she could see the portal of light next door. I have only one request. If one day you confirm that I'm no longer a threat, please let me go over to your side and see the sun. In the command vehicle, Xiaojiangguo watched the monitor, silent for a long moment. Tell her that day will come. Order the engineering cores to work 24/7. I want Building 4 completely sealed and retrofitted within 3 days. I want our soldiers to be able to take off their gas masks and breathe inside that building. The construction of Outpost 0 began in earnest. Inside Medical Bay 301, a cross-world scientific dialogue officially commenced. This is all the data we've collected on what you call the C virus. Chen Guofeng's voice came through the communicator. Suan looked at the data on the screen, her brow furrowing slightly. This data is too superficial. The C virus is actually more like a nanoscale biological machine. A biological machine? Chen Guofeng frowned. That's right, but that's just its disguise, Suan explained. Not only can it modify DNA, but it can also restructure the host's energy metabolism system. That's why zombies can survive without eating or drinking. High-level mutants can unleash energy attacks because they have crystal cores in their bodies. Hearing the words crystal core, my spirits lifted. I was holding the very crystal I had just dug out of the tyrant's head. Dr. Su, since you're a virus expert, you must know the specific composition of this thing, right? I asked. I only know a part of it. Suwan's expression was grave. That's a level 1 crystal core. It's full of impurities. Its main component is a type of unnamed piezoelectric bioceramic. What use do you have for it? She asked in return. Suan paused for a moment, seeming to hesitate. In my world, some people try to strengthen themselves by injecting an extract from the crystal cores, but my father was always against it. The mortality rate is extremely high, and even if you're lucky enough to survive, you face a massive risk of mutation. This thing is dangerous, extremely dangerous. I smiled. Don't worry. We're not interested in its biological enhancement functions. We're interested in its physical properties. With that, I took the sealed bag and walked up to the huge bulletproof glass. On the other side of the glass was that dark blue, two-way portal. Dr. Su, since you don't know its energy level, let us verify it. What are you going to do? Suan was a little confused. I didn't answer. I took a deep breath and pressed my hand against the glass, my eyes fixed on the crystal core in my hand. Absorb, I thought to myself. The next second, Suan watched in amazement as the grayish-white crystal core in my hand began to glow. Streams of pale blue light flowed out of the core, passed through the sealed bag and the bulletproof glass, and poured into the two-way portal. The portal's vortex suddenly accelerated its spin. A deep humming sound echoed throughout. The floor, the light flared. What? What is the principle behind this? Suwan's eyes widened, watching the scene in disbelief. The gate ate it. I opened my hand. Inside the sealed bag was only a small pile of grayish-white powder. At the same time, the long-awaited notification appeared in my mind. Successfully absorbed level 1 biological crystal core energy fluid. Gained 12 energy points. Current upgrade progress, 12 out of 100. Just as I thought. I clenched my fist, an irrepressible smile spreading across my face. Dr. Su. I turned around and looked at the stunned Suan. This is its real use to us. It's not poison. It's a key. A key? Suan mumbled. That's right. I pointed at the portal. This gate, it's hungry. And these crystal cores are its food. As long as we feed it enough, it can get bigger, stronger, and more stable. In that moment, whether it was Chen Guofeng on the screen or Zhao Jiangguo in the command vehicle, everyone was profoundly shaken by this scene. Crystal cores are energy. Zombies are mobile mineral deposits. Once this equation was established, the entire strategic situation was instantly reversed. The zombies that were once our nightmare had now become a precious resource. Zhao Jiangguo's voice came over the radio. Comrade Lin Han, are you certain that just 100 of these level 1 crystal cores will complete the first upgrade phase? I'm certain, sir. I looked at the progress bar in my mind. And I have a feeling that after the two-way portal upgrades, it will give us a huge surprise. Zhao Jiangguo slammed, his hand on the table. Relay my orders. The entire Special Operations Brigade is to enter Level 1 combat readiness. The engineering cores will immediately clear an armored path to the portal. If the heads of those zombies contain the energy we need, then we're going to go dig it out. In the medical bay in the other world, Suan watched all of this unfold. The people of her world saw zombies as reapers of death, but we saw them as a resource. This was the difference in the level of civilization. She muttered to herself. She could feel that. Our power would completely change the fate of this desolate land. Not through salvation, but through conquest. Level 1 combat readiness. Level 1 combat readiness. The alarm blared across both worlds. Squad after squad of soldiers poured out of the portal, quickly deploying into defensive formations on the street. Attention, this is not a drill. Everyone, check the seals on your gas masks. Activate FF systems. Heavy weapons teams, get in position. Lai Long stood on a rooftop, raising his binoculars. His gaze was calm. Behind him, 2 heavy machine guns were at the ready, their barrels aimed down the street. Report to command. All units are in position. Commence the operation. Zhao Jianguo's voice was deep and authoritative. 500 meters from the outpost, 2 drones hovered in the air, loudspeakers hanging beneath them. A song that had vanished from this desolate world for 12 years suddenly shattered the apocalyptic silence. The zombies hiding everywhere were stirred up like a hornet's nest. They immediately went into a frenzy. Amid countless roars, dense figures converged into a human tide, chasing after the 2 drones. The prey has taken the bait. The recon company commander piloted the drones, luring the zombie horde toward the encirclement. All units, be advised, target is entering firing range. Distance 500 meters. 300 meters. 100 meters. Lei Long watched the surging horde of zombies below. There were at least 500 of them. Mixed in were several incredibly fast tyrants, but today they were facing a modern army. Fire, the single command. Bang bang. The 2 heavy machine guns on the Vanguard's roof roared to life. The 12.7mm rounds instantly tore the leading zombies to shreds. Right after, dozens of automatic rifles simultaneously opened fire. An overlapping net of firepower blanketed the entire street. This wasn't a battle. This was an industrialized massacre. Those zombies were as fragile as paper. They were mowed down in droves before they could even reach the defense line. Tyrant spotted in Sector 3, requesting sniper support. Copy that. Up on the rooftop, a sniper calmly pulled the trigger. Suan had confirmed that this mutant variant, known as the Tyrant, had incredibly thick skin. Standard rifle rounds could hardly take it down in one shot. Bang! A Tyrant preparing to leap and break through had its head blown apart like a watermelon. In less than 10 minutes, the gunfire began to thin out. The street returned to a dead silence, leaving behind only scattered gore and an overwhelming stench. Is it over? Suan watched the battle through the monitor, completely stunned. She had seen zombie hordes that drove people to absolute despair. But in front of these soldiers, they were unbelievably weak. So this is the power of true firepower. I walked up beside her, feeling a surge of pride. Dr. Su, welcome to a world where truth lies within the range of a cannon. Clear the battlefield. Li Long's voice rang out again. Engineering company, suit up in hazmat gear and move in. We have to dig out the crystal cores before their energy dissipates. Dozens of soldiers in hazmat suits rushed out. Enduring the foul stench, they quickly smashed open the zombies' skulls to retrieve the crystals. Report. Found a crystal core. Level 1. Got one over here too, Captain. Dug out a red one. Looks like a level 2 core. Triumphant reports continuously flooded in over the comms. I stood before the portal of light, watching bag after bag of blood-stained cores being brought back. The system notifications chimed endlessly in my mind. Absorbed level 1 biological core, energy plus 12. Absorbed level 1 biological core, energy plus 11. Absorbed level 2 biological core, energy plus 150. The upgrade progress bar was skyrocketing. Finally, when the last bag of cores was tossed into the portal, the energy reached maximum capacity. Current progress 100, 100. Dimensional portal upgraded to LVO 2. Portal dimensions expanded to 5 by 5 meters. Adjustable. Unlocked new technological material transport pathway. Status stable. Unlocked new privilege. Two-way passage for heavy motorized vehicles permitted. Unlocked new privilege. Spatial anchor relocation. The ordinary-looking portal suddenly erupted with a blinding light. As the light faded, a rectangular gateway of light appeared before me, smooth and stable as a mirror. Solid, like an exquisite door embedded right into the bedroom wall. Except the room was too small. The portal pressed tightly against the ceiling and the floor, almost swallowing the entire wall. Current space restricted. Portal, dimensions auto-adjusted. Maximum expandable size, 5 by 5 meters. Host may adjust the portal's size via thought at any time. I stared at the massive wall of light in front of me, a smirk tugging at the corner of my mouth. I turned and spoke into the comms. Commander, the door is open, and it's even bigger than we expected. However, I pointed at the ceiling. This temple is too small. It can't hold a Buddha this big. We need to find it a new home. A new home. On the other end of the line, Zhao Jianguo looked at the portal on his screen, a gleam flashing in his eyes. You mean the portal can be moved now? Yes, Commander. I nodded. Though I can't just place it anywhere I want. I can move it to any wall around here. As long as the wall is big enough, it can fully expand. Zhao Jianguo abruptly stood up. Notify the engineering department to initiate Plan B immediately. Plan B was the Phase 2 protocol established. Long beforehand, an engineering team had secretly taken over the apartment complex's underground air raid shelter and retrofitted it into an underground fortress. Underground? Attention all Outpost 0 personnel, prepare to evacuate Room 302. Upon receiving the order, Lei Long began organizing the dismantling of the defensive structures. Where are we moving to? Suan asked, confused. The defense system here just took shape. Isn't it a waste to just abandon it now? Not at all. I smiled at her through the curtain of light, because where we're going is a real fortress. Besides, I gave a mysterious smile, we need to make way for some big boys. Lei Long, escort Dr. Su down to the underground parking lot to regroup. We'll meet you there. Copy that. The relocation happened swiftly. On Earth's side, the underground base had cleared out a massive concrete wall. On the parallel world side, the engineering company had also cleared a space at the entrance of the underground parking lot. Cross-world coordinates calibrated. Wall structural integrity check passed. Personnel in the parallel world have retreated to the safe zone, ready to initiate relocation. Inside room 302, I took one last look around the room. Retract. Following my thought, the rectangular portal suddenly shrank, turning into a streak of light that shot right into my forehead. Let's go. I turned and left. Escorted by special agents, I headed straight for the entrance of the underground air raid shelter. 10 minutes later, at the underground air raid facility on Earth's side, I stood before the massive concrete wall. Behind me were Zhao Jianguo and countless researchers. I took a deep breath and pressed my hand against the wall. Open. Hum. A deep blue light rippled outward, instantly swallowing the entire wall. 5 meters high, 5 meters wide. The square curtain of light was as smooth as a mirror. Standing before it, a person looked incredibly small. This was the LV2 form of the dimensional portal. Zhao Jianguo stood on the command platform, overwhelmed with emotion. Commander, pathway testing complete. The other side is the entrance to the Jinxiu Gardens underground parking lot. The space is wide open, no obstacles detected. Excellent. Zhao Jianguo picked up the red command phone. This is Zhao Jianguo. Order the Torrent of Steel to advance. Rumble. The ground began to shake. Leading the charge was a Type 99A main battle tank. This 55-ton king of land warfare exuded an imposing aura. Its massive 125mm smoothbore gun radiated a suffocating pressure, followed by a second and a third, an entire tank company. Next came the infantry fighting vehicles, self-propelled artillery, and heavy military trucks loaded with supplies. This was the might of a nation. A true deep strike capability. Target, Parallel World Outpost 0. Move out the lead Type 99A tank, carrying an unstoppable momentum, majestically drove toward the ring of light. The curtain of light rippled as the massive tank hull slowly submerged into it. In the parallel world, the pitch-black underground parking lot was suddenly illuminated by 2 glaring headlights, accompanied by the deafening roar of an engine. The Type 99A tank burst out of the portal on the wall like a steel beast. Then came the second and the third. A fully mechanized, heavy armored force miraculously appeared amidst the apocalyptic ruins. Suan stood in the corner, completely petrified. She knew we were strong, but she never imagined we were this strong. Tanks, and state-of-the-art main battle tanks at that. Grrr, low, guttural zombie growls echoed from deep within the parking lot. Over a dozen zombies staggered out, including a massive Goliath. The lead Type 99A didn't even bother turning its turret. It just maintained its speed and plowed straight through. Crunch, a sickening chorus of shattering bones rang out. Whether it was a normal zombie or that Goliath to a 55-ton steel machine, it made no difference. They were instantly crushed into a pile of mush. This is the Torrent of Steel. This is what you call an absolute crush. I stood on top of an armored vehicle, speaking to Suan, who was still in shock. Dr. Su, let's get reacquainted. This is the expanded version of Parallel World Outpost Zero. I pointed at the convoy of armored vehicles pouring out behind me, a slight smirk on my face. And this is just the beginning. The engine noise had attracted zombies within a 2-kilometer radius. They roared like a dark gray tidal wave surging madly toward the parking lot entrance. Report! Radar detects a massive biological heat signature approaching. Numbers exceed 3,000 and still rising. In the command center, the comms officer's voice was urgent but completely devoid of panic. Zhao Jiangzhou didn't even bat an eye. He calmly issued the order. Saves us the trouble of clearing them, building by building. Let them get a little closer. Order the armored detachment to block the entrance. Fire at will at the underground parking lot entrance. 3 Type 99A main battle tanks lined up side by side like a wall of steel, sealing off the entrance completely. Behind them were infantry fighting vehicles and heavy machine gun emplacements. The first wave of zombies roared as they charged. Several lightning-fast hunters leaped into the air, attempting an aerial ambush. The commander of the lead type, 99A, coldly watched the scene unfold. Fire! Bang, bang! The 12.7mm anti-aircraft machine gun on the Vanguard tank opened fire, followed by the 30mm autocannons from the infantry fighting vehicles. Dense tracer rounds wove into a deadly net of fire. The hunters mid-leap were instantly shredded into a shower of gore. The front row of zombies fell like harvested wheat. The ones behind trampled over their bodies, continuing the charge. High-explosive 30mm rounds slammed into the center of the horde, detonating. Every shot created a rain of blood and flesh. Not a single zombie made it further than 20 meters up the ramp. This wasn't a battle. This was a one-sided slaughter. 40 minutes later, the gunfire began to thin out. On the ramp outside the entrance, a mountain of corpses had piled up 2 meters high. Several construction bulldozers roared forward, shoving the bodies aside like trash. Then, the recovery team, clad in hazmat suits, moved onto the scene, expertly scavenging for crystal cores. Crystal core confirmed. Level 1. Level 1 core confirmed. Level 2 core confirmed. There's a red one in this tyrant's head. A team member excitedly held up a blood-red crystal. That unlucky tyrant hadn't even gotten a good look at the tanks before an autocannon sheared off half its body. Suan, standing by the command vehicle, stared blankly at the scene. The zombies in her memory were symbols of death and despair. But today, those terrifying monsters were like raw materials on an assembly line. Slaughtered, cleared out, and efficiently harvested. Is this the true power of a nation? She muttered. This is nothing. I had somehow appeared right beside her, handing her an ice-cold cola. Wait until the Air Force joins the fight, or we start carpet bombing with missiles. Then you'll know what true fire superiority looks like. Suan took the cola, feeling a vague sense of unreality. Instead of just watching the show, Dr. Su, your battlefield is over there. I pointed not too far away, where engineers were erecting a complex of white field tents at breakneck speed. Is that? Suan followed my gaze, her eyes instantly lighting up. A mobile BSL-3 biological laboratory. I smiled and said, we directly deployed an entire field hospital and a top-tier mobile lab. Centrifuges, electron microscopes, gene sequencers, blood analyzers, the most advanced equipment you can think of. We brought it all for you. Suwan's hands trembled slightly. She knew all too well the value of these things. Electricity, water, consumables, and guaranteed security. To a scientist, this was absolute paradise. With this equipment, I can conduct an in-depth analysis of these crystal cores. The Black Steel Syndicate's crude method of direct absorption isn't just dangerous, it's incredibly inefficient. Give me 3 days. Combined with the data I brought out, I can definitely map out their energy composition and find a truly safe way to harness them. A fire reignited in Suwan's eyes. This was true scientific research. I nodded, looking at the torrent of steel clearing the battlefield in the distance. Several high-powered searchlights flared to life atop the apartment buildings, tearing through the darkness that had shrouded Haishan City for the past 12 years, declaring the return of human civilization. This place is safe now. I took a deep breath. From today onward, with this building as the center, a 2-kilometer radius will be our absolute territory. Night fell. The high-powered searchlights pierced the darkness of Haishan City. Outpost Zero had officially taken root in the apocalyptic world. Haishan City Water Treatment Plant Number 3. This place was a den of vice and the largest devil's nest in the wasteland. Atop the high walls, lined with electrified fences, Watchtowers were armed with heavy machine guns and searchlights. Outside the walls lay the slums. Thousands of survivors crammed together like livestock, toiling for the rich in the inner city, just to trade for a bowl of muddy water and half a piece of moldy rations. Separated by just a single wall, the inner city was a completely different world. Inside a luxurious office, Lee Sen was elegantly cutting a piece of canned meat on his plate. As the director of intelligence for the Black Steel Syndicate, he enjoyed the highest privileges in the apocalypse. This canned meat doesn't taste as good as last time. Lee Sen frowned. Next time, tell the scavenging team to check the basements in the wealthy district. Maybe there are still some unexpired imported goods down there. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Boss Shen. The beautiful secretary beside him answered with a tremble. Knock, knock, knock. A rapid knocking on the door rang out. Li Shen's gaze instantly turned cold. Didn't I say not to disturb me while I'm eating? Boss Shen, something big has happened. A trusted subordinate burst in. His face was a mask of panic. What is it? Li Shen shot him a displeased glance. Did the Wild Wolf gang cause trouble for the water convoy again? Or are those fanatics from the Salvation Corps up to something? A mass sacrifice? It's neither of those. The subordinate swallowed hard. He pointed out the window. You should see for yourself. Li Shen snorted coldly. He walked over to the window and pulled back the curtains. The next second, the wine glass in his hand crashed to the floor, shattering into pieces. His pupils contracted violently. His eyes were glued to the scene outside the window. To the southeast, about 5 kilometers from the water treatment plants, a blinding white pillar of light shot straight into the sky, incredibly conspicuous, incredibly defiant amidst the dark, sprawling ruins. That's Jingxiu Jiayuan, near Haishan No. 1 High School. Li Shen narrowed his eyes. Isn't that the most heavily infested area? For zombies? Who would dare turn on the lights there? It's not just the lights. The subordinate reported, his voice trembling. Half an hour ago, loud explosions and continuous gunfire suddenly erupted from that direction. The commotion was so huge, it sounded like the military was rolling into the city. A deep, distinct explosion rumbled through the air, making the bulletproof glass hum. Li Shen's expression changed completely. As a former soldier, he was all too familiar with that sound. Those are 30mm high explosive rounds, he muttered in disbelief. That rate of fire, that rhythm, that's the autocannon from a Type 04A infantry fighting vehicle. No, and there's more. That's a 12.7mm anti-aircraft machine gun. In this apocalyptic world where even a single rifle bullet is currency, who could possibly possess such heavy, military-grade firepower? Could it be remnants of the federal government's army? Impossible. Li Shen immediately dismissed the thought. The Haishan military district was overrun by a zombie horde 8 years ago. I went to confirm it myself. Boss Shen, could the Wild Wolf gang have dug up some pre-war armory? Li Shen sneered. That meathead Lai, huh? You could give him a cannon and he'd just use it as a hammer. Besides, even if he had a cannon, where would he get this much ammunition? He pointed at the pillar of light and the unceasing gunfire. His finger trembled slightly. Listen to that commotion. They've been firing for almost an hour, haven't they? That's saturation fire. The amount of ammo they're firing every second could buy us 100 slaves. Even at our peak, we wouldn't dare to be so wasteful. After the fear came a deep, insatiable greed. A hungry wolf's glint flashed in Li Shen's eyes. Whoever is over there, they're sitting on a massive treasure trove. It could be an armory. It could be a power facility. It could even be a huge stash of crystal cores. Relay my orders. Li Shen paused. His usual grim expression returned, but the fervor in his eyes was impossible to hide. Deploy the Night Owl squad. The subordinate shuddered. Boss Shen, the Night Owls? That's our most elite team. If the enemy has that kind of firepower, sending regular men would be a suicide mission. Have Night Owl lead the team. Tell him to take the best gear. The Type 11 suppressors, and those precious Gauss rifles too. He paused for a moment. Then he took a syringe filled with a glowing, light blue liquid from a drawer and tossed it to his subordinate. Tell Night Owl, if he runs into a tough nut to crack, he has permission to use drug number 2. The subordinate hastily caught the syringe. His hands were shaking. It was a berserker drug that could massively boost a user's strength for a short time, but the side effects were brutal. There's only one objective. Scout out the enemy's strength. Li Shen walked to the window. He gazed at the pillar of light and made a throat-slitting gesture. If it's a powerful dragon just passing through, we'll play the humble nephew and negotiate a partnership. But if it's just some lucky, fat sheep, his lips curled into a cruel smile, then we'll devour them, skin, bones, and all. Every last bullet, every last crystal core over there will belong to the Black Steel Corporation. At the same time, about 2 kilometers from Jingxiu Jiayuan, in the lair of the Wild Wolf Gang, the place looked like a wild, scrapyard fortress. The skulls of various mutated beasts hung from the perimeter wall, which was made of stacked-up junk cars. At this moment, the entire camp was dead silent. Everyone was gathered on the wall, staring dumbfounded at the distant blaze. The massive, muscular Li Hu stood at the highest point, holding a paint-chipped monocular. He stared intently in that direction. "Boss, should we go check out the action?" A subordinate sidled up to him, greed flashing in his eyes. "With a commotion like that, it's gotta be a big score. Those guys have been fighting for so long, they must be spent by now. Should we go scavenge after they've cleared out the zombies? We might even snag some good guns." Li Hu casually backhanded the subordinate, sending stars into his eyes. "Scavenge? You want to go get yourself killed, is that it?" He lowered the monocular and wiped the cold sweat from his forehead. "Damn it, are you deaf? That's a tank. A real honest-to-God tracked tank. And that brrr sound. That's the autocannon from an infantry fighting vehicle." Lehu grabbed his subordinate by the collar and roared, "I've been around the block. What haven't I seen? That kind of rapid-fire weapon, just one belt of ammo could level this whole damn scrap heap we call a camp. And you want to go scavenging with your rusty nail guns? They fire one shell over here, and there won't even be scraps of you left." He let go, forcing himself to calm down. As a warlord who dominated his territory, he had survived this long by relying on an instinct sharper than any mutated beast's. The moment that pillar of light appeared, he felt an unprecedented fear. It was a feeling of helplessness, like facing a power from a higher dimension. "Pass down my orders. Everyone stays put in their holes. You hear me? Put out all the fires. Anyone who dares to even look in that direction, they won't have to deal with you. I'll skin you alive myself. And another thing, pull all our outer sentries back 200 meters. Don't give those gods over there any reason to think we're looking for trouble." Seeing their normally arrogant boss so terrified, the subordinates were all scared into silence. Lei Hu looked at the pillar of light shooting into the sky. His eyes filled with awe and apprehension. "The game has changed," he muttered to himself. "Looks like this city of Haishan is about to get a new master. From now on, in this territory, the ones calling the shots won't be Black Steel anymore, and it won't be us. It'll be those savages over there." The night was pitch black. The wind howled, mingling with the distant roars of mutated beasts. A shadow vaulted down from an overpass like a ghost, followed by a second and a third, 5 in total. They wore black combat gear made from beast hide and gas masks. Their red night vision goggles flickered with an eerie light in the darkness. These were the sharpest fangs of the Black Steel Corporation, the Night Owl Squad. The squad leader, Night Owl, dropped to one knee and signaled a halt. He glanced at his tactical watch. It was 2 a.m. "Jingxiu Jiayuan is just ahead," Night Owl spoke in a low voice through his throat mic. "Target area has a strong light source. Maintain cover, leader." "The artillery fire stopped a while ago." The voice of Mad Dog, the assault specialist, crackled in their earpieces. "Looks like those fat sheep are done fighting. They're probably exhausted and sleeping in their houses right now. Don't get careless," Night Owl reminded him coldly. "Anyone who can make that much noise is definitely not your average survivor." The boss's orders were clear. "This is a recon mission. Our main goal is to assess the enemy's strength. But if their defenses are lax," he touched the poison-laced tactical dagger at his hip. A cold glint flashed in his eyes. "Then we'll snag one for intel." Night Owl was very confident. As a level 1 speed enhancer, his neural reaction speed was 3 times that of a normal person. In his mind, no matter what kind of heavy firepower the enemy had, in a close-quarters night battle like this was the domain of evolved humans like them. In these ruins, tanks and cannons are just moving targets. "Move out." The 5 shadows immediately fanned out, using the terrain for cover as they closed in on the pillar of light. However, he had no idea that 500 meters above his head, an invisible pair of eyes was watching their every move. Tisk, tisk. Their technique is pretty professional. Inside the command center of Base Zero, I was holding a cup of instant noodles, slurping them down while watching the large, high-definition screen in front of me. On the screen was a clear, grayscale thermal image. 5 distinct human outlines were in the process of infiltrating. Beside the image, real-time data was even being displayed. Target A, leader. Heart rate 85. Body temperature 37 degrees C, carrying a high hardness alloy blade. Suspected aerosol type poison on his hip. Target B. Assault. Heart rate 92. Carrying a short-barreled firearm on his back. Abnormal muscle density. Suspected strength enhancer. So this is the so-called Night Owl Squad? Li Long sneered disdainfully. This level of infiltration, back in our Special Forces unit, they couldn't even pass the first preliminary round. Look at the guy on the left, sticking his ass up that high. Is he afraid the snipers might miss? For survivors in the apocalypse, this actually isn't too bad. Zhao Jiangguo held his teacup, his tone calm. They know how to use the terrain. They know how to spread out their formation. They're even equipped with thermal-blocking leather jackets. It's just a pity that their concept of equipment is stuck 20 years in the past. He pointed at a small red dot on the screen. Our micro-hummingbird drone is hovering exactly 100 meters right above their heads, and yet they have absolutely no idea. This is the gap of an entire era. That so-called thermal-blocking beast hide in front of a military-grade multispectral radar is as flimsy as a pair of sheer pantyhose. Chief, should we wipe them out right now? Li Long requesting orders. The sniper team has locked onto all targets. Just give the word and we'll pop their heads like melons in 3 seconds. Hold on. I swallowed the beef in my mouth. The Black Steel Syndicate sent people to deliver a gift. We have no reason to refuse. Didn't Dr. Su say she was short on test subjects? These so-called evolvers are perfect for her to slice up and study. Capture them alive for research. Zhao Jiangguo nodded. If we want to show our might, then let's show them what modern warfare looks like. Order Special Ops Squad 1 to close the net. Meanwhile, Night Owl suddenly felt an inexplicable chill. It felt like being stared down by some terrifying prehistoric beast. As an evolver, this intuition had saved his life countless times. Night Owl abruptly stopped in his tracks. In a flash, he ducked under an abandoned bus. What's wrong, Captain? Something's wrong? Night Owl's voice was a bit dry. It's too quiet. He was right. It was way too quiet. They had infiltrated to a position less than 300 meters from the light source, but there was nothing here. A dead silence. Captain, look over there! Mad Dog suddenly cried out. Night Owl looked in the direction he was pointing. His pupils shrank violently. In the clearing 100 meters away, parked several massive machines. They were tanks, but not the makeshift tanks cobbled together from bulldozers by the Black Steel Syndicate. These were true killing machines, with sleek turrets and long, straight barrels. Even while dormant, the aura of cold steel radiating from them made Night Owl feel suffocated. Those are main battle tanks. Night Owl's eyes widened in disbelief. These are absolutely not the patched-up junkers of the Black Steel Syndicate. These are real machines of war. Oh crap, the turret is moving? Night Owl realized in horror that the tank's turret was silently turning toward them. The pitch-black barrel instantly locked right onto them. At the same time, an overwhelming sense of extreme danger washed over him. It's too quiet. This proves the enemy spotted them a long time ago. Fall back! Night Owl practically roared. It's a trap! Run! He turned and bolted. His previous confidence shattered into nothingness. However, it was too late. The moment they turned their backs, a muffled gunshot rang out. Night Owl only felt his right hand go light. A bone-piercing pain struck him. His tactical dagger, along with half his hand, was blown to pieces by a large-caliber sniper round. Sniper at 2 o'clock, 2 more gunshots echoed. The weapons in the hands of 2 squad members dropped to the ground with the shots. Who the hell is it? Come out and fight me one-on-one if you have the guts, Mad Dog roared furiously, pulling out a red syringe and stabbing it hard into his neck. It was Serum number 2. However, when the needle was still a centimeter away from his skin, a blue flash of lightning tore through the night. His entire body convulsed violently. Foaming at the mouth, he collapsed stiffly to the ground. Damn it. Night Owl watched his teammates drop in the blink of an eye. A desperate madness flashed in his eyes. If we can't run, then we fight to the death. He tensed his leg muscles, launching himself forward like an arrow, fast as lightning. Yet, the moment he took a step, countless blinding white beams of light simultaneously flared up from all sides, illuminating the area he stood in as bright as day. The intense light instantly blinded Night Owl. He let out a miserable scream, covering his eyes as he fell to the ground. Welcome to Base 0. A cold voice echoed through the loudspeakers. Or more accurately, welcome to the kill zone of information warfare. Night Owl fought through the pain, forcing his eyes open just a crack. He saw a sight he would never forget for the rest of his life. Dozens of heavily armed soldiers had appeared around him out of nowhere. They were equipped with state-of-the-art gear. Their rifles were decked out with all sorts of attachments he couldn't even name. Dozens of red laser sights crisscrossed over him and his teammates. And right in front of him, that Type 99A main battle tank had silently rotated its turret. Its massive 125mm smooth-bore gun was coldly pointing right at his head. From less than 20 meters away, pointing a main battle tank at a guy with a dagger, is this even something a human would do? Absolute despair. Everything Night Owl had ever been proud of in the face of these steel beasts, and infrared scopes made him look like a total clown. Don't shoot! Night Owl slowly raised his hands, slowly kneeling before the cannon barrel that could blow him into dust. I surrender. 10 minutes later, the underground interrogation room of Base Zero, the once arrogant and domineering Night Owl squad, now looked like 5 plucked chickens locked into interrogation chairs. When I walked in, Night Owl had his head down, his eyes hollow. Head up, Lei Long barked coldly. Night Owl shakily raised his head, seeing an unbelievably young man. Me. Let me introduce myself. I took a sip of coffee, smiling at him. I'm Lin Han, the master of this place. To be honest, I'm quite interested in this so-called evolver ability of yours. I set my cup down, pointing to the lab behind the one-way mirror next to us. Over there, Suan was wearing a white lab coat, excitedly adjusting the equipment. My chief scientist just happens to be short on a few live test subjects to study the effects of crystal cores on the human body. Therefore, our next conversation will determine whether you end up on an operating table dedicating your bodies to science, or as a labor camp prisoner out back helping us move bricks. The smile on my face remained bright, but in the eyes of Night Owl, it was more terrifying than a demon. Now, tell me, the top brass of the Black Steel Syndicate, before they sent you here, did they mention how they wanted to die? The underground interrogation room of Base Zero. An hour passed. The wound on Night Owl's hand had been treated, but the pain constantly reminded him of what had just happened. On the other side of the one-way mirror, Suan held a lab report, her brows furrowed tightly. Got the results? I pushed the door open and walked into the observation room. Yeah, Suan handed me the report, a hint of pity in her voice. These so-called evolvers are basically a complete scam from start to finish. She pointed at the microscopic cell images on the report. Although their cellular activity is 5 times higher than a normal person's, this isn't natural evolution. It's being forced by a virus to burn out. Burn out? Exactly. It's like injecting too much nitrous into an engine, Suan compared. The mutated C virus strain is constantly eroding their telomerase enzymes, forcibly trading their cells' life force for short-term bursts of power. At this rate of depletion, she glanced at Night Owl in the interrogation room. Even without any external injuries, he won't live past 3 to 5 years. When that time comes, he'll die from multiple organ failure or completely turn into a mindless zombie. I raised an eyebrow. In other words, the Black Steel Syndicate's so-called God creation project is actually just mass-producing short-lived ghosts. Not just short-lived ghosts, but walking biochemical bombs, Suan said coldly. This modification process is irreversible. That guy named Lee Sin completely treats living people as single-use consumables. Understood. I nodded, a smirk tugging at the corner of my mouth. This information is even more valuable than the defense map in their heads. With that, I took the report and walked into the interrogation room. A file folder was thrown right in front of Night Owl. Take a look. I pulled up a chair and sat down. This is your medical report. Night Owl blankly picked up the report. Even though he didn't understand the complex medical data, he could still read the bold red conclusion at the very end. Diagnosis results: severe cellular depletion, pre-symptoms of gene chain collapse, estimated remaining lifespan under 3 years. What does this mean? Night Owl's voice trembled. It means that the blood god you've always been so proud of is actually a lethal poison. I pointed at Suan behind the glass wall. My chief scientist just analyzed your blood. The so-called enhancement serum the Black Steel Syndicate injected you with is actually draining your life force. You thought you were getting stronger, but in reality, you're just burning the candle at both ends. Impossible, Brother Sin said. This is the key to evolution. The symbol of a new humanity. Night Owl abruptly stood up, but the handcuffs yanked him hard back into the chair. You're lying to me. You're trying to break my will. Lying to you? I let out a scoff. Can't you feel it yourself? The extreme exhaustion every time you use your power, the bone-deep aching pain at night, and the increasingly uncontrollable thirst for flesh and blood. Night Owl froze. His face instantly turned deathly pale, because every symptom I mentioned struck right at the deepest fears hidden in his heart. He had always thought it was the price of evolution, so it was actually just a countdown to his death? They've been lying to us all along, Night Owl muttered, the light in his eyes completely dying out. The collapse of one's beliefs is what truly drives a person to despair. It's not entirely bad news. I suddenly changed my tone. Although it's irreversible, if you cooperate, Dr. Su might have a way to slow down the process. Maybe even let you live out your remaining days as a human being. Night Owl snapped his head up, staring intently at me. What do you want? I want everything on water treatment plant number 3. I leaned forward, looking him dead in the eye. The defense map, the fire points, the personnel deployment, and the exact hideout of that guy, Lee Sen. I want it all. Half an hour later, at the command center, a detailed defense map of water treatment plant number 3 was projected onto the big screen. I gotta say, this is a pretty tough nut to crack. Zhao Jiangguo looked at the dense cluster of fire points on the map, his expression serious. 3 lines of defense, over 2,000 slaves acting as human shields, and 300 fully armed private soldiers. Besides the modified armored vehicles that we've already seen, they're also hiding an armed helicopter. It's a Star tilt-rotor aircraft, a relic from before the war. Although its firepower is fierce, they lack the specialized high-energy solid fuel for it. Flying it once burns through half their reserves. Normally, they wouldn't dare use it. I added to Night Owl's confession. The core forces of the Black Steel Syndicate, aside from the 300 private soldiers, also include about 50 evolvers like him. Among them, the strongest is the security captain Butcher. Rumor has it he's a level 2 strength enhancer. He can flip a car with one hand. In the face of a heavy machine gun, flipping a car has 0 tactical value. Li Long chimed in. The key issue right now is that they control the water supply. Zhao Jiangguo pointed to the water treatment workshop at the center of the map. If we launch a frontal assault, that madman Li Sen is highly likely to destroy the filtration equipment, or even poison the water source. That's the only deep underground water well still operating in Haisan City. It's also a crucial resource for our future development in this world. Therefore, we can't attack head-on. We can only strike directly at the brain. You mean? I asked. Zhao Jiangguo shook his head, a bloodthirsty glint flashing in his eyes. Decapitation strike. He drew a red line on the map, thrust straight into the core administration building of the Black Steel Syndicate. An infiltration spec ops team coordinating with a frontal assault. Before they even have time to react, we directly wipe out their command center. Zhao Jiangguo turned to look at me. Comrade Lin Han, haven't you always wanted to test the combat effectiveness of the dual world portal's spatial anchor relocation function? I was stunned. Then my eyes instantly lit up. Chief, are you saying, what if we open the portal directly inside their base? Zhao Jiangguo smiled faintly. For example, right through the wall next to Li Sen's office. I looked at the map, taking a deep breath. This isn't a decapitation strike. This is literally putting a knife right to their throats. Open the door. Let's do this. I slammed the table. This is absolutely the most unreasonable special ops mission in history. Late at night, the sky over Haisan City was still drizzling with black rain. At an abandoned subway entrance about 2 kilometers from water treatment plant number 3, an elite 12-man squad was using the cover of darkness to advance. Heavily guarded in the center of the formation was me. How much further? I asked in a low voice. Even though I was wearing a full set of heavy riot gear and holding a submachine gun, my heart was still racing. After all, this was my first real deep infiltration into an enemy lair. Past this maintenance tunnel is the water plant's underground pumping station. The guide leading the way was the former captain, Night Owl, now bearing the codename Prisoner. That place has been abandoned for a long time. It's located right beneath the administration building where Lee Sen's office is. It's the only blind spot in the entire base's defense. The muzzle of Lei Long's gun hovered constantly, pointed at the back of a night owl's neck. He said coldly, "You'd better pray that tunnel hasn't collapsed. Otherwise, you'll be the first one buried alive in there." Night Owl let out a bitter laugh, saying nothing. 10 minutes later, we stood before a thick, solid concrete wall. "This is it." Night Owl pointed overhead. "The basement of the administration building is right above us. Behind this wall was the backup generator room. It's a huge space." I stepped forward, my hand resting on the cold concrete. "Host anchor detected. Deploy spatial gate at this location? Take him away and keep him under guard." I turned and gave the order. 2 squad members immediately moved in, threw a black hood over Night Owl's head, and dragged him away. Once I confirmed all non-essential personnel were clear, I turned back around. I took a deep breath and looked back at Lei Long and the Special Forces team behind me. Zhao Jiangguo had been dead set against me taking this risk myself, but moving the spatial anchor had to be done by the host in person. It was a risk I had to take. "Everyone, get ready." My voice was still a little tight, but it carried an air of finality. The Special Forces members immediately fanned out and set up a defensive perimeter. I closed my eyes, my consciousness linked with the system. Open. A deep blue light suddenly erupted in the pitch-black underground space. A rectangular curtain of light, a massive 5 meters wide and 4 meters high, materialized in midair before us. The instant the portal took shape, a chilling presence poured through from the other side. It was the smell of steel and gunpowder. "Operation Thunderbolt!" Zhao Jiangguo's steady, commanding voice boomed from the other side of the portal. "Go!" Thump. 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 Rhythmic footsteps echoed like war drums. The first wave consisted of 3 Lynx all-terrain assault vehicles bursting through. The remote weapon stations on their roofs glinted with the cold light of death. Following them were 2 entire platoons of fully equipped special forces. They poured into the confined underground space like a black tide. In an instant, the vast basement was flooded by a river of steel from Earth. I quickly moved to the side, watching the breathtaking scene unfold. The tension in my chest immediately dissolved. In its place, an indescribable pride swelled within me. This is the power of our nation. Apocalyptic warlords, so-called punishers, before an organized modern army, they're nothing but paper tigers. Meanwhile, in the director's office, on the 3rd floor of the administration building, Lee Sen had his feet kicked up on his desk, swirling a glass of red wine. "Night Owl isn't back yet?" he asked a lackey beside him. "Not yet, sir, boss, but we heard some gunshots from that direction a little while ago. The little prey probably put up a bit of a fight. Just a small delay," the lackey said with a sycophantic grin. "When Night Owl's on the job, you can rest easy. Before sunrise, the supplies from that camp and that pretty little thing will be delivered right to your bed. They'd better be." Lee Sen snorted. "Things have been getting restless lately. I hear the Salvation Army to the west is making moves again. If Night Owl can bring back some good loot this time, it'll be perfect for bolstering our forces." He hadn't even finished his sentence when a massive explosion, like a clap of thunder, rocked the building. The entire administration building shook violently. The wine glass on his desk crashed to the floor, shattering. "An earthquake?" Lee Sen shot to his feet in a panic. "Report, boss, report!" A guard's terrified scream crackled over the radio. The basement's been blown open." "What? Blown open? There are vehicles, tanks! They're coming up from the basement. Are you insane?" Lee Sen roared. "How the hell are there tanks in the basement? Did they tunnel in like goddamn moles?" But the next second, his curses died in his throat. The deep, deafening roar of a heavy machine gun erupted from the main hall below. Explosions and blood-curdling screams followed. A storm of lead was tearing everything to shreds. "Boss, they're storming the building. They're too fast. It's special forces. Real special forces." The voice on the radio cut out abruptly. The color drained from Lee Sen's face. He scrambled to pull a Desert Eagle from his desk drawer. Just as he lunged for the door, bam! The heavy wooden door and its frame were blown inward by a single kick from a combat boot. Amidst the flying splinters, 2 flashbangs clattered into the room. Fwash! The blinding white light and deafening roar instantly robbed Lee Sen of his senses. He stumbled around like a drunk. By the time his vision started to clear, all he could feel were several cold muzzles pressed against his head. A cold voice spoke right next to his ear. Lee Sen, I presume. Tell your men to drop their weapons unless you want your head to blossom. Lee Sen struggled to open his watering eyes. He saw a squad of soldiers armed to the teeth, so elite it drove him to despair, and behind those soldiers, a figure in heavy-duty tactical gear stared coldly at him through a helmet visor. This is impossible! Lee Sen choked out in despair. You people, where in the hell did you come from? I stepped forward. I looked down on this so-called apocalyptic overlord. I pointed down at the floor. A wide grin spread across my face. You're not going to believe this, but we sprouted from your basement. The battle was over quickly, but the cleanup operation was far more complex. As the first rays of dawn touched water treatment plant number 3, this fortress, once ruled by violence and fear, finally knew peace. In the main square, the once arrogant soldiers of the Black Steel group were now squatting on the ground, hands on their heads. Stay still, don't try anything funny. A Special Forces member slammed his rifle butt into the back of a mercenary who was trying to reach for a hidden dagger. The man trembled in fear. He immediately wet his pants. This scene was witnessed by the more than 2,000 survivors huddled in a nearby corner. In their weary eyes, there was not only fear, but also utter disbelief. As far as they knew, new conquerors usually meant a new massacre, or even crueler enslavement. However, the expected beatings, cursing, and summary executions never came. Instead, an aroma filled the air, one that could stir the most primal of human instincts. It wasn't the rancid smell of charred mutant meat, nor was it the sour stench of moldy bread. It was the simple, unmistakable fragrance of rice congee. This is rice congee. From a corner of the crowd, a gaunt old man sniffed the air. A spark suddenly ignited in his dull, cloudy eyes. He stared intently across the square. There, several soldiers in hazmat suits were unloading massive stainless steel thermal containers. The moment the lids were opened, billows of white steam rose into the air. For people who had struggled to survive in the apocalypse for 12 years, that white steam was more intoxicating than the purest drug. The soldier in charge of distribution raised a megaphone to his lips. Form a line. There's enough for everyone. The calm and order in his voice was the most comforting sound these survivors had heard in 12 long years. The elderly, women, and children go first. Take your time. There's plenty of food to go around. Head to the medical tent on the left for a checkup. The crowd started to stir, but seeing the armed soldiers standing guard, they hesitated, afraid. Is it really for us to eat? A little girl timidly looked up at the soldier approaching her. Her eyes were filled with longing and fear. The soldier knelt down. He pulled a sausage from his pouch and offered it to her. Go on, eat. You won't have to be hungry anymore. In that moment, the little girl's mother suddenly clutched her child and broke down, sobbing uncontrollably. Her cries were infectious. They quickly spread through the entire crowd. More than 2,000 survivors faced the vats of congee and wept their hearts out. It was 12 years of pent-up sorrow. It was the release of finally escaping from despair. Meanwhile, in the underground laboratory behind the administration building, the atmosphere was the complete opposite. It was like a remnant of hell itself. These bastards! Suan stood in a room labeled Evolution Chamber. The datapad in her hand creaked under the pressure of her grip. The room was filled with enormous glass vats. Inside were not specimens, but failed experiments. Humans who had been injected with an overdose of the crystal core extract, causing their genes to collapse. Their bodies, twisted and deformed, were suspended in preservation fluid. Their dead eyes stared out at the world, unable to close. So this is their so-called God-making project. Lei Long stood behind Suan. His gaze swept over the hellish scene. His voice was terrifyingly cold. They used live humans as guinea pigs to test the limits of the virus? It was more than just testing. Suan gestured to a blood-stained experiment log. Her voice trembled. They were trying to mass-produce the evolved. Lee Sen believed that, if the sample size was large enough, he could eventually screen out a few children of God who could achieve symbiosis with the virus. And the failures are what you see in these vats. The logbook was filled with cold, hard data. Test subject number 074, injected with 10 ml of Tier 1 crystal core extract. Violent reaction, systemic vascular rupture. Cause of death, multiple organ failure. Test subject number 109, injected with 5 ml dose of extract. Tier 2 crystal core. Partial bone metallization observed. Subject subsequently lost control, became berserk, terminated. Test subject number 213, behind every cold line of data was a human life. Gather all of this material. Suan took a deep breath, trying to suppress the nausea and rage rising within her. As cruel as this is, this data will be invaluable for our research into a vaccine and a safe method for using the crystal cores. We can't let them have died in vain. Understood. Li Long gestured to the Black Steel Group researchers cowering in the corner. And what about this scum? Suan shot them a cold glare. Hand them over to the survivors. Let them pass judgment. I imagine the families of the deceased would be very eager to exchange experimental notes with them. In the director's office on the top floor of the administration building, the space had been converted into my temporary forward command post. I stood before the floor-to-ceiling window, watching the people lining up in an orderly fashion below. And in the distance, construction vehicles are starting to clear the rubble. This is the very first step in rebuilding civilization. Zhao Jianguo's image appeared on the command terminal screen on the desk. Lin Han, you did a great job.
Not only did you secure the territory, more importantly, you've won the people's hearts. Sometimes, a bowl of hot porridge is actually more effective than guns. I sighed in agreement. But to keep their loyalty, we're going to need a lot more. Have you finished inventorying the resources? Zhao Jianguo asked. Still counting. The loot is beyond our wildest imagination. I turned to look at the busy logistics officer. Reporting to the chief, we have the preliminary list. The logistics officer handed over a tactical tablet. First is the gold. Li Sen hoarded about 21 tons of gold in his underground vault. I nodded. In the real world, this gold is worth nearly 10 billion yuan in capital, enough to plug a lot of holes in the early stages of the Tinder plan.
Second is the tech equipment. The logistics officer pointed to 3 silver briefcases nearby. This is the biggest surprise. We found a batch of military-grade tactical tablets and this mobile server in Li Sen's private collection room. I casually picked up a tablet and swiped through it. The system runs flawlessly. This just solved a massive headache for us. My eyes lit up. With the market data, network protocols, and encrypted maps of Haishan City stored inside, we might actually be able to wake up some of the city's dormant systems. Finally, and most importantly, the logistics officer lowered his voice slightly. He opened the black and gold briefcase in the middle. In an instant, a mesmerizing red glow illuminated the entire office. Gold cores. All the high-quality inventory the Black Steel Syndicate has scavenged over the years is right here. Neatly arranged inside were over 30 blood-red level 2 gold cores, along with more than 400 level 1 gold cores. High-purity energy detected, level 2 biological gold cores, X32 detected, level 1 biological gold cores, X415 detected, estimated conversion, 4,800 energy points, level 2, plus 4,980 energy points, level 1. Current energy reserves, 9,780, 10,000. I watched the system data dancing across my retina. My breath caught in my throat. Nearly 10,000 points taking down a single warlord has gathered 90% of the energy needed to upgrade to LV.3. Having such massive energy reserves means I'm practically filthy rich now. I can recklessly open the material transport channel, continuously shipping in heavy equipment. I can also freely move the spatial anchor point, bringing the flames of war right to the doorstep of any enemy. Besides all this, we also found something on Li Sen's computer. The logistics officer pulled up a slightly blurry satellite map. This is a power distribution map of the area surrounding Haishan City. It marks 2 extremely important coordinates. He pointed to a red dot on the edge of the map. The first one is at the Lighthouse camp west of the city. The notes indicate that place has a large concentration of pre-war scientific researchers and possesses a relatively complete industrial production capacity. My eyes gleamed. Talk about exactly what we needed. What about the second one? The logistics officer's finger moved to the city center, an area covered in bright red. The second is Haishan City Central Hospital. The Black Steel Syndicate marked it with a massive skull on the map and labeled it a restricted zone. But beneath the label, there's a line of small text. The logistics officer zoomed in on the image and read the text aloud. Suspected hideout of a level 4 mutant matriarch. Gold core reserves, immeasurable. A brief silence fell over the office. I stared at that blood-red skull mark. I could almost feel the terrifying aura seeping out of the screen. A level 4 matriarch, if a level 2 gold core can provide 150 energy points, then what about a level 4? Looks like our next target is crystal clear. Zhao Jianguo broke the silence from the other side of the screen.
However, before that, we need to fully digest our current gains. Slow and steady. One step at a time. I nodded. My gaze drifted back out the window. This place is no longer the devil's den of the Black Steel Syndicate. This is Forward Base 01, the very first spark of human civilization reignited in this hopeless world. I took a deep breath, knowing that this game has only just begun, but I'm no longer that trembling, ordinary young man I used to be. Behind me stands a mighty nation. Attention, all personnel. Zhao Jiangguo's steady voice rang out from the screen. Officially issuing the first military order post-occupation, stand down from level 1, combat readiness. All units transition to construction mode. It is mandatory to establish a preliminary defense perimeter within 24 hours. Also, Zhao Jiangguo looked at the screen, his tone softening slightly. Notify the mess hall. Add an extra dish tonight. All you can eat braised pork. Forward Base 01. Civilization doesn't mean a free lunch. Both Zhao Jiangguo and I understand this perfectly. In the apocalypse, pure charity will only breed laziness. Only by establishing a fair exchange system can we truly revitalize this deadened society. Attention, all personnel. A clear, standard voice echoed powerfully from the base's broadcasting station. All healthy adults between the ages of 16 and 55, please gather at the plaza in front of the administration building for identity registration and labor assignment. I repeat, please proceed to the plaza in front of the administration building for identity registration and labor assignment. There wasn't much of a commotion in the crowd. Their only concern was whether the new master's exploitation would be any better than the Black Steel Syndicate's. Old Zhang shuffled through the crowd, filled with anxiety. He used to be an engineer at the water treatment plant. He was already in his 50s. During the Black Steel Syndicate's rule, he barely kept his life because he knew a bit of tech. But he was just scraping by. Old Zhang, what do you think? They're going to make us do? You don't think they'll use us as zombie bait, do you? A young man next to him asked in a low voice. Don't talk nonsense. Old Zhang glared at him. Have you ever seen bandits hand out new clothes to slaves? The line slowly inched forward. Name. The registrar was a young soldier wearing a black tactical exoskeleton. His tone was mild but serious. Zhang Jiangguo. Old Zhang answered somewhat timidly. No need to salute. Stand up straight. The soldier looked up at him. What was your previous occupation? I used to be an engineer in this plant. Then the Black Steel guys took me to fix their water pumps and generators. An engineer? The soldier's eyes lit up. He tapped a few times on his device. Look into the lens. A soft blue light scanned old Zhang's retinas. Identity profile created. Zhang Jiangguo. Age 52. Technical personnel. Senior level. ID number 01T042. The soldier handed him a black rubber wristband. Put this on. This is your base ID. It's also your wallet and health monitor. Wallet? A wallet? Old Zhang was stunned. In the apocalypse, money had long become worthless paper. That's right. The soldier pointed to an LED screen, a massive one, in the middle of the plaza. Here at Base 01, we don't use old-world paper money, nor do we use a slave rationing system. We use a contribution point accumulation system. Old Zhang followed his finger. The screen was scrolling through various tasks for Base 01. Basic labor, battlefield cleanup, clearing, corpses, 1 point, building demolition, 1 point allowance, technical labor, urgently needed, mechanical maintenance worker, electrician, 20 points day, requires grading test. Higher tiers receive additional allowances. Gathering, resources, high risk, high reward, level 1 gold core, 100 points/core, level 2 gold core, 1,500 points/core. On the other side of the screen was a dazzling list of exchangeable supplies. Food, white rice porridge, steamed buns, unlimited supply, 5 points/portion, canned meat, 340 G, 10 points can, canned braised pork, premium item, 50 points can, daily necessities, soap, shampoo, 3 points item, antibiotics, amoxicillin, 50 points box, cigarettes, hard currency, 30 points a pack. Old Zhang stared, his jaw dropping. His Adam's apple bobbed wildly. He did some quick mental math. If he did the most grueling job of clearing corpses, clearing 10 a day would earn him over 10 points.
enough to eat and drink his fill. But if he passed the mechanical maintenance test, he'd get 20 points a day. Wouldn't that mean 2 days of work could buy a can of braised pork? Braised pork, more importantly. The rules here were open and transparent. As long as he was willing to work, he could live like a human being. This wasn't a base. This was practically paradise. Is this real? Old Zhang asked, trembling. You're really giving out braised pork and not just tricking us into working? Of course. The soldier smiled, pulling a can of braised pork from under the table and shaking it. As long as you have the points, you can eat as much as you want. Our chief said it himself. Labor is the highest glory here. The more you work, the more you earn. I'll sign up. I know how to fix water pumps. I'm the former chief engineer of this plant. Old Zhang suddenly straightened his back. An unprecedented light burst from his eyes. Not just water pumps, generators, transformers. I can fix them all. Give me some tools. I'll start working right now. Excellent. The soldier nodded in satisfaction. He entered a string of codes into the wristband. Head to Zone B for your test. Once you pass, your pay starts today, in the temporary command center on the top floor of the administration building. I stood before the floor-to-ceiling windows, looking down at the bustling scene below. The numb and lifeless expressions on everyone's faces were fading, replaced by a fierce vitality. It seems human adaptability far exceeds our imagination, I remarked. It's not just adaptability. Zhao Jianguo's holographic image appeared on the screen. It's a thirst for order. This point system is essentially re-establishing a credit system. As long as you make them believe that hard work pays off, the productivity they unleash will be absolutely staggering. This is all thanks to the supply of abundant resources from the state. I chuckled. Without that mountain of canned goods and rations backing our credit, I wouldn't be able to run this system at all. That's only the beginning. Zhao Jianguo's expression turned serious. The domestic expert team has conducted preliminary analysis on the gold core samples you sent back. The energy density of these things is insanely high. If we can decode its energy conversion mechanism, it will be a massive breakthrough for the entire energy structure of the real world. Therefore, Lin Han, you must hold base 01 securely. This will be our future energy mine. Don't worry, Uncle Zhao, I nodded. Oh, how is Suan doing lately? She's even busier than you are. Li Long chimed in from the side. She just recruited over 30 survivors with medical and biological backgrounds. What's more? Li Long paused for a moment, a hint of admiration flashing across his face. Our first batch of aid experts has also come through the portal. The moment those old professors from the National Academy of Sciences saw the virus samples and the mutant tissue slices Suan brought out, they all got as hyped up as if they'd been injected with chicken blood. Right now, they've holed themselves up in the level 3 laboratory on the second basement floor. All of them are following Suan's orders. It's quite a sight. A bunch of gray-haired academicians crowding around a young woman, calling her professor. Discussing biology. That's pretty interesting. Among 3 people walking together, one can always be a teacher. I smiled. Suan has survived in the apocalypse for 12 years. Her experience in this field is indeed vastly richer than ours. Let the experts learn from her. We need to quickly integrate the technologies of both worlds. Just make sure they don't trigger a biohazard, I joked. Li Long replied, understood. His expression turned serious. He grabbed his walkie-talkie. Got it. Rest assured, Advisor Lin, the safety red line is always strictly monitored. All worker teams heading out are required to be escorted by elite squads. Additionally, we are keeping a close eye on the brave ones willing to harvest gold cores. These people are excellent seeds for expanding our local auxiliary armed forces later on. Li Long stood at attention and was about to turn and leave. Suddenly, the red alarm lights in the command center flashed on. A radar operator jumped up and reported. Recon radar, abnormal signal detected. Both Li Long and I spun around and hurried over to the electronic map. Due west, 5 kilometers from the base, approaching us at high speed along the highway. The operator switched to the drone's real-time recon feed. On the screen, a small convoy of 3 modified off-road vehicles and a heavy truck was speeding madly down the abandoned asphalt road. Their chassis were welded with crude steel plates and sharp spikes. West? I raised an eyebrow. My eyes locked onto the red-marked area on the map. That's the direction of the Lighthouse camp. That's right. Leilong zoomed in on the image to confirm their identity. It's a convoy from the Lighthouse camp. It doesn't look like they're marching. It looks like they're running for their lives. In the feed, the convoy swerved erratically, as if something was chasing them from behind. Whatever they're here for, I gripped my teacup tightly. Since we have guests, we naturally have to welcome them. I just don't know if they're friend or foe. The neighbors are here. We need to make a statement. Leilong's expression was grave. He took a step forward. Advisor Lin, leave the defense to me. Since this is our first political contact, it's imperative that we display our full strength. Our full strength. I'll position 2 tanks, 2 Type 99As, right at the main gate. Infantry fighting vehicles will be deployed on the flanks. Now that they're here, we have to make them understand who's in charge. The first step in this diplomatic dance is to draw our swords. We need to teach these neighbors how to talk properly. With you guys here, I have nothing to worry about. Base 0, second basement level. Just 48 hours ago, this place was a bloody restricted zone under the rule of the Black Steel Corporation, but after my combat engineer company worked around the clock to decontaminate and renovate it, it has become the most sophisticated place in this entire apocalypse. A level 3 biosafety laboratory. The heavy, airtight door swung open. Dressed in a sterile suit, I stepped into this core area. The gloomy and terrifying atmosphere was gone. In its place were countless pieces of top-tier scientific research equipment rushed in from the real world. Dozens of sophisticated instruments hummed softly, and the first batch of 8 experts, urgently dispatched from the National Academy of Sciences, were gathered around Suan. Dr. Su, take a look at the RNA transcription process of this specimen. Doesn't it show a certain similarity to the virus we're familiar with? Dr. Su, regarding the metallization reaction of the muscle fibers in the Ravagers, I have a new hypothesis. Suan couldn't hide the exhaustion in her eyes, but her entire being was in a state of feverish passion and unprecedented focus. Professor Chen, that DNA segment is a trap. That's why the virus has such powerful camouflage properties. Try running the reverse transcription again. She didn't turn her head, still operating the electron microscope. As for the metallization reaction, that's a characteristic only found in level 3 and higher mutants. The data from the current level 1 specimen is insufficient. Don't make blind assumptions. As she stood up, she saw me, and a smile bloomed on her tired face. Lin Han, what brings you here? I smiled and walked over, nodding to a few of the older professors who looked like they wanted to speak but held back. Then I came to check on our lead scientist. So, are you satisfied with your new home? Satisfied is an understatement. Suan caressed the mass spectrometer next to her, her eyes shining brightly. This place is a paradise. Although the Lighthouse camp also had some pre-war equipment, due to power shortages and lack of maintenance, more than half of it was broken. The rest malfunctioned constantly, but here, everything you have is brand new. Some of these models are even better than the most advanced pre-war equipment I remember. To do a job well, you first need the right tools. I heard from Leilong that you made a huge discovery as soon as you arrived. Follow me. Her expression turned serious. She led me to the analysis area and handed me a thick report. For the past 2 days, I've been carefully analyzing the experimental data from the so-called God-making project that Lee Sen left behind. I have to say, although the people from the Black Steel Corporation had lost all their humanity, the massive amount of data they collected from their human experiments is truly a treasure trove. To create their so-called enhanced soldiers, they injected thousands of survivors with varying concentrations of crystal core extract. Most of them died horribly from rejection. However, while analyzing the death records, I discovered a strange phenomenon. What phenomenon? I opened the report. The words sensory loss, circled in red, immediately caught my attention. Watch this surveillance video of test subject number 302. A man covered in sores lay in a zombie cage, but the frenzied zombies around him ignored him as if they were blind. A huge shock suddenly gripped my heart. At that moment, my pupils contracted. Invisibility, not visual invisibility, but a loss of olfactory frequency and sensory presence. Zombies primarily hunt by smell, locking onto targets by detecting specific pheromones released by living creatures. Hearing comes second, and in the 30 minutes before his death, some metabolite in the test subject's body neutralized this scent of life. That fool Lee Sen was only chasing after enhanced strength. He considered this test subject a failure and disposed of him directly. But they had no idea that what they just threw away was the real priceless treasure. Suan swirled a syringe filled with a pale blue liquid. I've extracted that special enzyme. Using the gene editing technology you provided, I removed the toxic segment that causes cellular collapse. At the same time, I used some gold core powder as a stabilizer. Finally, I synthesized this. I call it Corpse Scent Number 1, a pheromone camouflage spray for the living dead. Just spray it on yourself, and you can completely block the senses of ordinary zombies for 30 minutes. I took the cold spray bottle. In this apocalypse, something that can fool a zombie's sense of smell is a true game changer. A portable one, at that. Moreover, it's the ultimate protective charm, bought with countless lives. Has it been tested? I tried to suppress my excitement. It's been tested on live subjects in the quarantine zone. The footage shows that after being sprayed, the special ops team members walked into a horde of bloodthirsty zombies without being noticed at all. The effective radius is about 3 meters. The duration is 30 minutes. However, the spray has its limitations. Its effectiveness drops sharply against level 2 or higher mutants, as they've evolved to rely on their sharper sight and hearing. Second, you can't initiate an attack. Once you make any aggressive moves or fire a weapon, the camouflage will fail. That's enough. I gripped the spray bottle tightly. It's enough for our search teams to infiltrate the city center. Enough for us to go to places once considered death zones. Places we never even dared to think about before. Suan, you've done a great service. I looked at her and said in a low voice, if this can be mass-produced, its value will be no less than that of an armored division. Mass production will take more time. Right now, our crystal core reserves are insufficient. Furthermore, to improve its effectiveness against high-level mutants, I need more data, specifically live data from level 2 mutants. You'll get your data. The crystal cores, you'll get those too. My tactical device suddenly vibrated. The intel that appeared on it made my face twist into a frown. What is it? The intel team just restored the urban network protocols left by the Black Steel Corporation and started monitoring short-range communications around the city. I walked towards the electronic map on the wall. About 10 minutes ago, we intercepted a distress signal. The signal was very weak and intermittent. It was using an unencrypted radio frequency. The code indicates it's from the Lighthouse camp. Suan rushed to the map, her eyes glued to the screen. Her voice trembled. Lighthouse, what happened to them? What did the distress signal say? Just 2 words. Beast horde. The recon drone is already there. The footage shows a sizable horde of mutated beasts surrounding the outer wall of the Lighthouse camp. If we don't intervene, with the weak defensive firepower of the Lighthouse camp, they won't last the night. Suan slammed her hand on the lab table. Not everyone at the Lighthouse camp is a good person. Back then, to fight over limited resources, the people in charge kicked my father and me out. They're selfish and ruthless. They even, to save power, they cut off the power to my father's life support pod. I knew she understood the cruelty of human nature in the apocalypse, but I wouldn't pass up any opportunity to seize resources. But I know even better that there are still hundreds of innocent researchers there, just like your father, along with tons of experimental data and blueprints. Those people are scum, but the knowledge they hold is priceless. Dr. Sue, I'm not here to be a babysitter, nor am I here to be a saint. Base Zero currently has guns, food, and medicine. We're only missing one thing: people. We lack technology. We lack scientific research personnel. The Lighthouse camp has exactly what we need. And what we have, I slapped a supply crate, is something they couldn't even dream of. I'm going there to stage a takeover. I'm going to bring the entire Lighthouse camp, both its people and its equipment, back here. As for those who used to bully you, you will see with your own eyes that in the face of absolute power, their arrogance and authority aren't worth a damn. Get ready. Dr. Sue turned and walked towards the door. A cold smile formed on my lips. Bring your corpse scent, no. 1. This time, we're going to give your old colleagues a grand welcome. We're going to show everyone, in this apocalypse, who the real beacon of hope is, Professor Chen. Prepare to set up a level 2 biosafety quarantine zone. We're about to receive a new batch of live specimens and new colleagues. Inside the cargo passage at the main western entrance, my forces had already established a kill zone with interlocking fields of fire. With a deafening roar, 3 violently modified off-road vehicles and some battered heavy trucks sped towards the base in a state of utter panic. Stop your vehicles. This is a restricted military area. Any further advance will be considered a hostile act. We will open fire immediately. The convoy didn't slow down. A burly man leaned out of the lead vehicle, waving a flare gun. Instantly, our sniper rifle roared. A 12.7mm bullet tore a deep crater right in front of their vehicle, forcing the entire convoy to a screeching halt. "Don't shoot! Don't shoot! We're human!" The burly man tumbled out of the vehicle, shaking uncontrollably. "We're a search party from the Lighthouse camp to the west. We mean no harm. Something's chasing us." Following his gaze, a thick cloud of dust billowed on the distant horizon. A pack of dark red mutant hounds was charging at a terrifying speed. "It's the scent hounds." The burly man's face instantly turned pale. Being torn apart by a level 2 mutant beast would be over in the blink of an eye. Just as he closed his eyes, waiting for death, the bamboo tarp behind the defense line was suddenly pulled up. The barrel of the type a main battle tank aimed down aggressively. Accompanied by the fury of the autocannons on both flanks, a dense rain of bullets tore through the air, shredding the predators into mists of blood that vanished into thin air. The absolute, overwhelming firepower left the battered convoy completely stunned. This is a regular army. A regular army from before the war. 10 minutes later, this Falcon search team had been disarmed. They looked at me in shock, seeing the abundant electricity and clean water in the base. "Drink up." Lei Long tossed a bottle of water over. The burly man gulped it down in seconds. Lei Long, built like an iron tower, glared at him. "Speak. What unit are you from? What are you doing here? And why were those things tailing you?" "My name is Wang Mang, vice captain of the security team at Lighthouse Camp. We were originally ordered out on a scouting mission. We heard the Black Steel Syndicate was wiped out, so the boss sent us to see what kind of divine force had taken over this place. I didn't expect to meet actual gods." "Cut the crap!" Li Long barked. "Get to the point. What was the deal with those predators just now?" Fear resurfaced on his face. "The beast horde? The Western Mountains are in total chaos. For some reason, all the mutant beasts that usually hide deep in the mountains suddenly swarmed out. Not just the predators, but also the berserkers even. Some people even saw dragons in the sky." I suddenly stepped forward. Li Long tactfully took a half step back. This subtle shift in position secretly shocked Wang Mang. "It's a scavenger wyvern." Suan approached Linehan, holding a tactical tablet. "He's telling the truth. We just reconfirmed the signal source. Lighthouse Camp is indeed under siege. The predators chasing them were probably just the outer scouting pack." "You, Dr. Su? You're still alive?" Wang Mang gasped in shock. "What? Surprised?" "Captain Wang, back then when you kicked my father and me out of the lab, you were the one leading the charge to break down the door." Wang Mang averted his eyes, completely afraid to look straight at the woman who was now in control of the situation. I looked at him coldly, weighing the pros and cons of a deal that could double our forces, save the reminiscing for later. "In short, you guys managed to escape. Consider it breaking through the siege. Before the camp was completely surrounded, the boss sent out several groups in different directions to find reinforcements. We were lucky enough to make it out, but we were targeted by those beasts. They chased us all the way here." "Mr. Lin," Wang Mang dropped to his knees with a thud, refusing to get up. "Please, I beg you, save Lighthouse Camp. There are over 3,000 people still there. Even if the boss and his cronies are scumbags, the surviving civilians are innocent. Besides, there's a lot of equipment in the camp and tons of research data. If the beast horde breaches it, everything will be destroyed." 3,000 people. I turned to look at Lei Long and Suan. 3,000 laborers, along with Dr. Su, the equipment and colleagues you've been hoping for. This deal is worth making. Agreed. This is indeed a profitable deal. Director Zhao Jianguo, surrounded by a group of staff officers, walked over. I raised my hand in a military salute. "Uncle Zhao." Lei Long and the others solemnly saluted. The staff department has finished their assessment. The personnel and equipment at Lighthouse Camp are exactly what we desperately need. Li Long, I approve your combat request. Take the Armored Coalition Unit and 2 mechanized infantry battalions. Go bring our people back. Remember, what we need are the manpower and equipment, not a pile of rubble. Try to minimize collateral damage. Understood? Consider it done. I guarantee the mission will be accomplished." Lai Long's eyes burned with fighting spirit. He reported over the radio, "All units, prepare for level 1 combat readiness." The massive garage doors rumbled open. 10 type.
99 main battle tanks rolled out, crushing the ground beneath them, churning up a shockwave of air that shook the earth. Wang Meng knelt on the ground, sobbing uncontrollably, witnessing the descent of the most brutal destroyer in this apocalyptic world, Base 01. The air was thick with the smell of military-grade diesel. For wasteland survivors like Wang Meng, this was the most luxurious fragrance in the world. I watched him cower in the corner like a country bumpkin. Dozens of tanker trucks were roughly pumping golden, high-quality fuel into the tanks of these steel beasts. He watched the spilled drops of fuel with immense regret. In an apocalyptic world where even low-grade biodiesel was as precious as gold, my soldiers casually tossed aside half a barrel of leftover fuel, an act that violently assaulted his entire worldview. What a waste of heaven's gifts. This is too extravagant, he muttered blankly. Is this the power of a nation? Wang Meng, stop spacing out. Get in the car. The window of the Dongfeng Mengshi tactical assault vehicle rolled down. Li Long, wearing tactical sunglasses, looked down at him coldly. You're on navigation duty. Get in the lead vehicle. Yes, right away, sir. Wang Meng shivered and scrambled into the armored vehicle. All units, attention. Lei Long's steady voice came through the radio. Target, west. Lighthouse camp, distance, 25 kilometers. Operation codename, Dawn. Move out. The staging ground shook violently. 10 type. 99A main battle tanks led the charge like a spearhead. 20 type. There are 4 infantry fighting vehicles spread out on both sides like wings. I sat in the command vehicle, watching the steel dragon spew black smoke as it crushed through the base gates. 12 years of apocalyptic ruin had turned the roads into a chaotic mess. But my armored convoy didn't need to take any detours. Barricade detected ahead. About 50 scrapped cars blocking the road. An observer in the lead vehicle reported concisely. Run them over, Lei Long ordered. Copy that. The 500 horsepower engines roared furiously. The multi-ton tanks surged forward like bulldozers, flattening the abandoned cars beneath their steel treads, carving out a bloody path with sheer brute force. The deafening noise instantly shattered the dead silence of the city. Thousands of zombies poured out from both sides of the road like a black tide, rushing straight at the convoy. Sir, zombies? It's a zombie horde! Wang Meng's terrified scream echoed through the comms channel. Stop the vehicles! We need to find cover and defend! What are you panicking for? Suan, riding in the same vehicle as him, kept her eyes glued to the tactical tablet. Her voice was ice cold. Open your eyes and watch. No need for the main guns. The 30mm autocannons and heavy machine guns on the infantry fighting vehicles instantly unleashed a deadly net of fire. The incoming zombies were crushed and shredded like wheat before a harvester. Large caliber rounds tore the zombies to pieces. The treads rolled coldly over the corpses, the sound of bones crunching under the weight sending shivers down the spine. The zombies were pulverized into minced meat. It's over? It's already over? Wang Meng slumped back into his seat, his survival instincts, honed over 12 years, suddenly shattering. This is the gap. Wang Meng, Suan looked out the window at the blood-streaked road. In the past, we struggled just to survive, but they are here to conquer. 2 hours later, I was still sitting in the command vehicle. The convoy sped westward. The smell of gunpowder in the air grew thicker. In the distance, on the horizon, tracer rounds could be seen tearing through the night sky. We're here. Wang Meng pointed at the ruins of a fortress built into the mountainside, his voice trembling with fear. That's Lighthouse. The situation was far more tragic than imagined. The towering fortified perimeter walls had been breached. Swarms of mutant beasts were frantically pouring into the camp. The massive frame of a berserker was aggressively smashing against the main gate. The defenders' front line was teetering like a candle in a storm. Looks like we arrived just in time. I coldly lowered my binoculars and pressed the multi-channel tactical comms button. All units, attention. Drop march formation. Switch to combat formation. Target the beast horde ahead. Mission, annihilate them all. Open fire. The 125mm main guns of the 10-type 99A tanks roared in unison. The barrels simultaneously aimed at the beast horde in the darkness. This was a greeting from the pinnacle of human industrial civilization. Inside, Lighthouse Camp had become a slaughterhouse.
Through the drone footage and intercepted comms frequencies, the desperate screams inside could be heard clearly. "We can't hold them off. The wall is breached. The predators are inside. Where are the heavy machine guns? Why aren't you firing?" "We're out of ammo. The last ammo box ran dry 5 minutes ago on the rooftop of the command center." Zhou Cheng, the camp's boss, watched in despair as the mutant beasts swarmed in, slaughtering the civilians trying to survive. His knuckles were white from gripping his empty gun so tightly. "It's over," he muttered blankly. In his line of sight, thousands of mutant creatures were overwhelming the defenses. The massive iron gate was finally smashed, opened by the terrifying strength of a berserker. "It's over. Monsters, they're in." Desperate screams echoed from all directions. The ferocious predators slashed the throats of the security team. Zhou Cheng let out a tragic laugh. "If only I hadn't kicked them out over those machines, maybe." A massive mutant beast trampled over the corpses, lunging straight at him. He squeezed his eyes shut, pressing the empty gun to his head, waiting for the end to come. Boom! A 125mm high explosive shell suddenly detonated at the foot of the mountain. The berserker, along with Zhou Cheng's despair, was instantly blown into a pile of burning minced meat. The earth-shattering explosion drowned out all the growls. What was that?" He opened his eyes wide in shock. "A 10-type, 99A main battle tanks, painted in desert camouflage, and 20 infantry fighting vehicles were crushing through the rubble, marching majestically into the battlefield like mobile steel fortresses. The tracer rounds from the 30mm autocannons were like the Grim Reaper's whip, tearing through the monsters and turning them into pools of blood and gore. The predators that tried to counterattack were blown to pieces in mid-air by precise machine gun fire. This wasn't tactics. This was absolute domination from a completely different league. Thermal imaging, lock on, fire control radar. A clean sweep. The tide that had the power to annihilate the entire refugee camp was completely wiped out in just 10 short minutes by modern firepower. All that remained was a scorched wasteland and the acrid smell of gunpowder. Zhou Cheng's knees gave out. The gun fell to the ground. With a thud, he stared blankly at the red flag fluttering on the turret, of the tank collapsing and sobbing uncontrollably. The regular army. It's the regular army. The country hasn't forgotten us. The country has come to save us. The artillery fire ceased. Wearing a black personal protective suit, I stepped out of the Dongfeng Mengshi, stepping onto the sticky mess of blood and gore. The nausea of standing in such a slaughterhouse was completely suppressed by the cold, imposing presence of the armored troops behind me. I grabbed a megaphone, my cold voice echoing through the silence of the deadly ruins. "This is the Starfire Rescue Team. I am Lin Han, representing the Starfire Rescue Team. From this moment on, we are taking over this place." I looked up, my gaze piercing through the gunpowder smoke, locking on to Boss Zhou Cheng, who was trembling on the rooftop. "Boss Yo, aren't you going to come down and welcome your saviors?" The Special Forces team quickly locked down all key routes. In this apocalyptic world where life was cheap, their cold weapons and hazmat suits looked like divine salvation in the eyes of the refugees. Surrounded by heavily armed guards, I walked into the camp's main hall. The once magnificent hillside villa now reeked of sweat and the sour stench of chronic starvation. The floor was littered with the dying wounded. But when they recognized the woman in the pristine white lab coat standing next to me, the entire hall fell into absolute silence. Dr. Tarsu, in the corner, a crippled guard on a stretcher. Someone who had once sided against Suan, whispered tremblingly. Her shocking return, backed by an armed force capable of leveling the entire camp, was truly earth-shattering. "Suan!" Zhou Cheng's voice was hollow and pale. "You're back!" Suan didn't even glance at him. That complete indifference cut deeper than any sarcastic remark ever could. "The air quality here is atrocious. Is the ventilation system broken?" She frowned and issued crisp orders to the elite medical team behind her. "Set up the quarantine zone first. Prioritize the critically wounded. Also, the hygiene conditions here are terrible." Her voice was cold and entirely rational. "Xiao Liu, if that leg wound isn't treated immediately, it's going to turn necrotic. Take him to the medical zone and prep him for debridement surgery." Zhou Cheng stood frozen in place. From beginning to end, this woman only cared about truth and life. In her eyes, his desperate struggle for survival to claim the boss's seat was nothing but child's play. "Dr. Su, let's save the catching up for later." I pointed at the emaciated refugees around us.
The urgent priority right now is to solve the starvation issue. Several burly soldiers carried in massive thermal containers, setting them down in the main hall with a heavy thud. Clang, the deafening sound of the food container lids being popped open, rang out. The rich aroma of piping hot white rice porridge and the savory, juicy scent of braised pork instantly wafted out, tearing through the room's stench of blood and rot. The eerie, continuous sound of people swallowing their saliva echoed from every corner. No one could resist their primal craving for white porridge and real meat. To celebrate Lighthouse Camp being saved from destruction, and to celebrate Dr. Su's return home, I tossed this gift of fate to everyone. Tonight, century egg and lean meat porridge, along with canned braised pork, will be served unlimited. Eat to your heart's content. Eat until you're full. The frantic cheers nearly blew the roof off. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Su. I quietly observed Joe Cheng. His pathetic pride crumbled with every spoonful of hot congee. Leader Joe, don't look so down. I walked over and took out a fresh Zhonghua cigarette. The lighter clicked. I lit the cigarette for him. We're not bandits. We're here to cooperate. I have food. You have technology, but no say in anything. You're not getting the short end of the stick. He bit down on the green filter. He took a deep drag. The harsh smoke flooded his damaged lungs. The potent nicotine numbed his nervous system. He looked at the refugees desperately scrambling for food, then at the pale, pristine face of Suan. He surrendered. We'll cooperate. His voice was hoarse and empty. Commander Zero. Whatever you want, take it. As long as we can survive. As long as we can live like human beings. I don't just want you to survive. I leaned in close. Every word was like a hammer blow, shattering his spirit. I want to rebuild civilization, and the technology from your lighthouse camp is one of the cornerstones for that. Follow me, and you will no longer be rats scurrying in a hole. You will be the engineers who rebuild this world. Those last two words struck his withered soul like a thunderclap. Joe Cheng's body trembled. Follow me. Let me show you. Leader Joe. I pointed to the underground passage leading to the P4 lab. Show me the treasure you've hidden that Suan can't forget, and that the Black Steel Corporation would envy. He gritted his teeth and crushed the cigarette butt under his heel. This way. It seemed Joe Cheng had found his backbone again. Though not skilled in combat, when it came to research, the Lighthouse camp did indeed possess some impressive assets. Some of them, even before the war, were top secret. Passing through 3 thick blast doors, the stench of the apocalypse vanished. In its place was the faint smell of ozone. This was the P4 laboratory of the old Haichon Institute of Biotechnology. It was also the final stronghold of the Lighthouse camp. Joe Cheng entered his biometric code. The alloy door slid open. Under the dim light of the emergency lighting system, a row of precision analysis equipment and incubation tanks came into view. This is our core asset. Joe Cheng pointed to a full-body black combat suit in the center of the lab, the prototype Titan tactical exoskeleton, complete with its third-generation neural interface system. I stared at the metallic beast through the protective glass. It was covered in a dense web of hydraulic tubes, exuding a cold, industrial beauty. The 4th-generation personal combat system the military had planned to deploy. Joe Cheng explained, it can give an ordinary soldier the strength to lift a car, a running speed of 60 kilometers per hour, and it can withstand 12.7mm machine gun fire. Very impressive, I commented fairly. Unfortunately, it's just a pile of scrap metal right now. Suan pulled up the control screen and threw a bucket of cold water on his enthusiasm. Without a compatible high-energy battery, this machine can only shuffle around the lab while plugged into a cable. If you unplug it, it becomes a coffin weighing several hundred kilograms. Joe Cheng froze, then he walked towards a safe. That's right, energy is indeed the biggest problem. He took out a black cube. So this is the real treasure, a high-density solid-state hydrogen battery. Joe Cheng's eyes burned with a fervent passion. This is the ultimate secret of the Haichan Energy Research Institute. Its energy density is 50 times that of traditional lithium batteries. In theory, a single one of these can power the Titan at full combat capacity for 6 hours. 50 times. My pupils contracted slightly. This meant that all the laws of industry in the real world would be completely overturned. However, Suan once again dashed their hopes. You can't manufacture it. True, we can't, Joe Cheng admitted bitterly. This technology requires an extremely harsh environment, a vacuum manufacturing process, a clean room,
a massive stable power supply, and a complete mining and processing line for rare earth metals. In this desolate world, it's incredibly difficult to even find a standard grade screw, let alone something at the pinnacle of industry like this. Zhou Cheng looked at me with a desperate, probing gaze.
I smiled faintly. The harsh conditions he couldn't meet amidst the ruins were well within the expertise of the nation backing me. Mr. Lin, you hold resources beyond our wildest imagination, and perhaps even a supernatural channel for transportation. He had clearly figured something out. I'm willing to hand over all the blueprints, prototypes, data, and even my entire research staff. Zhou Cheng took a deep breath. In exchange, I hope to retain management rights over the survivors at the Lighthouse camp. Of course, if you take us in, we will become your subordinates. If you want to be the leader, I cut him off with a smirk. No, I just want to find a way out for the brothers who've been through hell and back with me in this chaotic world, and to keep a shred of dignity for myself. After all, this technology was priceless even before the war. I walked around the Titan prototype. My footsteps echoed in the laboratory. Leader Zhou, you seem to be mistaken about one thing. I stopped and looked him straight in the eye. In a business negotiation, the value of an asset doesn't just depend on the asset itself. It also depends on who the buyer is, and whether the seller has the right to refuse. I pointed at the battery. This thing in your hands can only be used to light up a few light bulbs, or serve as an overpriced brick. Not only will it fail to help you fend off wild beasts, it'll also attract the attention of demons like the Black Steel Corporation. But in my hands, I operate on a much grander scale. I have a complete industrial system. I have tens of thousands of engineers. I have endless raw materials. The industrial barriers holding you back, to me, are just the cost of electricity to fire up the machines. I can turn this into a mass-produced product, into a shield to protect humanity, into a light that pierces the darkness. You call it a treasure, but in your hands, it's nothing but a one-way ticket to hell. As for the management rights you mentioned, Chief Zhou, do you think those survivors who just ate a bowl of porridge want to keep suffering with you, or follow me and eat meat every day? Zhou Cheng's face turned deathly pale. The hearts of his people had already been bought by a few vats of my porridge. This clearly wasn't a negotiation. I snatched the battery from his hand. This is a takeover, a bankruptcy buyout. I'll give you two choices. Take your pride and walk out of here. Go out there and reason with the zombies. 2. Unconditional merger into Base 01. You can join our logistics or human resources department. You might lose your title as chief, but you'll have clean water, hot food, a safe place to sleep, and if you do well, I might even give you a fully equipped squad to realize your dream of protecting survivors. Your dream. The hum of the servers faded away. The room fell into absolute silence. I choose the second option. Zhou Cheng lowered his head, looking as if all his strength had been drained. A wise choice, I said coldly, tossing the battery to Suan. Dr. Su, these belong to you now. Gather all the data. We're taking them home. Through a cross-dimensional video call, Professor Chen Guofeng at the National Academy of Sciences in the real world was practically going crazy. Genius, an absolute genius concept. What's up, Professor Chen? I asked while toying with the prototype. Linhan, do you have any idea what this means? Professor Chen pointed at the schematics, his voice trembling. Before the invention of this battery, humanity's energy storage technology was still in the Stone Age. Whether it's lithium or graphene batteries, they still couldn't break the limits of chemical energy. But this battery uses a special crystal structure to solidify hydrogen atoms into a metallic titanium form within the crystal lattice. This isn't just a battery, it's a miniature hydrogen power plant. Ultra safe. Its energy density reaches an astonishing 5,000. What do you mean? The best military-grade lithium batteries right now only have a density of around 300. It's over a dozen times more powerful than the best batteries we have today. But didn't Zhou Cheng say it was 50 times better? He was comparing it to outdated tech or theoretical limits. Professor Chen waved his hand dismissively. Even so, being over a dozen times more powerful is enough to change the world. Just imagine, an electric car with a 500 km range could travel 8,000 km with this battery that completely blows combustion engine vehicles out of the water. And more importantly, he continued, it solves our biggest headache. For us. The miniaturization of high-energy weapons? You mean the tactical armor? Not just tactical armor. Professor Chen was practically vibrating with excitement. Electromagnetic railguns, high-energy laser weapons. These couldn't be deployed before because they required massive generators. But now, a brick-sized battery is enough to sustain a fierce urban firefight. Linhan,
You didn't just bring back a battery, you brought back the key to the future of warfare. My blood boiled with excitement. This is the true purpose of the Crossworld portal. What about mass production? Not a problem. Professor Chen answered firmly. Dust-free clean rooms, massive, stable power grids. Our national infrastructure has it all. Our rare earth reserves are fully stocked. As long as we figure out the principles and the catalyst's composition, give me 3 months. No, just 1 month. I'll have the first domestically produced prototype ready. Awesome. I nodded firmly. I'm counting on you. After hanging up the connection, Suan was still busy working. I looked at her. Looks like you've scored quite a dowry. Don't celebrate just yet. The battery is just the power source. This tactical armor prototype is the real treasure. She pointed at the armor being dismantled. Did you think tactical armor was just a few steel plates and motors? Streams of code cascaded down the screen. This is the culmination of an entire industrial system. To control this massive beast, the scientists at High Sane developed a compatible carbon chip. Its computing power is 10 times that of modern silicon chips, with extremely low power consumption. To make it move as fluidly as human limbs, they coded a third-generation neural interaction system. This is a true artificial intelligence prototype. And this tactical holographic display, it's not just miniaturized projection tech. It's the real-time battlefield positioning algorithm behind it. The entire source code is sitting quietly in these server hard drives. I realized I had just brought back an entire military-industrial supply chain. Then let's pack up all the equipment and personnel and take them back. I gestured with my hand. What Hai-san couldn't achieve, we'll do in our world. If our world can't do it, we'll mine it, refine it here, and bring it back. With the combined advantages of both worlds, nothing is impossible. Lu Zhan walked into the lab. Sir, the relocation operation has begun, he reported. His expression suddenly turned serious. However, while clearing out the Lighthouse camp's storage, we found something else. Sealed vials of Serum, number 2. Lu Zhan frowned. The enhancement drug from the Black Steel Corporation, Zhou Cheng didn't use it on a large scale. But it seems he was secretly conducting experiments to improve it. I looked over at Suan. Suan. I'm leaving this to you. I know. Suan nodded. I'll analyze the composition. If we can eliminate the side effects, it'll become a weapon for us against high-level mutated monsters. If not, destroy it, I agreed coldly. We don't need to create short-lived monsters to protect our home. Understood. I stood up and adjusted my collar. Acquiring this battery tech means that electronic weapons in the real world can now be put into active service. Let's go check out our new acquisitions. By the way, I should also prepare a special gift for the Black Steel Corporation. Inside the Lighthouse camp, my troops were executing the relocation like a whirlwind. Careful with that microscope. It's a priceless antique from Germany. Pull the hard drives from that server first. That's right. Watch out for static electricity. Pack it all up, all the specimens. Just take everything, whether it's useful or not. Professor Chen specifically ordered that even the trash must be brought back for analysis. Under Su Wan's direction, dozens of combat engineers in tactical armor were uprooting everything. They even wanted to rip the whiteboards off the walls. Mr. Lin! Zhou Cheng stood to the side, staring blankly as the emergency lights in the hallway were dismantled. His mouth twitched. You're even taking the light bulbs? I took a sip of water and replied bluntly. Those are ultra-durable nuclear-powered bulbs. They might be a bit old, but they're still perfectly fine for field use. Chief Zhou, waste is a crime. Zhou Cheng was helpless, resigned to his defeat. Finally, he got to witness the tradition of frugality ingrained in our blood. 2 hours later, the convoy, fully loaded with supplies, left the ruins. The refugees looked out the windows of the modified buses, their eyes filled with timid anxiety. Where are we going? I don't know. I heard we're heading to base Suan. I just hope we get a decent meal. When the sturdy perimeter walls and bright lights of base 01 came into view, gasps of astonishment echoed throughout the vehicles. Oh my god, they have electricity here. Are those searchlights? Aren't they afraid of attracting zombies? Look, they even have vegetable greenhouses. What welcomed them wasn't the barrels of guns pointed at them, but containers of piping hot food. Everyone, off the vehicles. Please follow the instructions for the decontamination and showering process, as 12 years of accumulated radioactive dust were washed away. Putting on fresh clothes and holding steaming hot steamed buns along with meat and potato stew, the psychological defenses of these people who had merely existed in the wasteland completely crumbled. It's actually meat, I thought. I'd never get to eat white flour again, Mom. This water is sweet. Sobbing. Zhou Cheng huddled in a corner with his food tray, watching his subordinates devour their meals, then looking at the clear, bright eyes of the people in the base. I've lost. He picked up a piece of braised pork, swallowing his ambitions along with the meat. He had truly lost, and he was thoroughly convinced of it. At the base's command center, I monitored the surveillance screens while listening to the report. The intake process is going smoothly, I reported to Zhao Jiangguo. After preliminary screening, the percentage of research personnel among these refugees is quite high. There are 35 senior experts, over 120 mid-level engineers, and nearly 200 skilled technicians. Notably, there are mechanical and biological engineering experts that we desperately need. They are all absolute treasures. Excellent. Zhao Jiangguo nodded. Tell Dr. Su to arrange work for them as soon as possible, especially the mechanical engineers. Have them work with Professor Chen to decrypt the server data immediately. Yes, sir. Lu Zhan suddenly spoke up. His expression was extremely grave. However, the perimeter guards reported on the convoy's way back they felt tremors from the ground. These tremors weren't caused by tanks. It's not that kind of tremor. The frequency was very low, and it originated from deep underground, like something massive was shifting. My heart skipped a beat. The electronic map flashed in my mind. Right beneath the city center is the legendary Mother Nest. Could this relocation have disturbed it? Heighten our alert level, Zhao Jiangguo ordered in a deep voice. Turn the radar to maximum power. Double the patrol radius of the drones. The moment any anomaly is detected, sound the level 1 combat alarm immediately. Yes, sir. Meanwhile, in the real world, inside a top-secret underground command center in Beijing, Professor Chen, his eyes bloodshot, holding a briefcase, stood before a group of top-tier leaders, men with enough power to shake the international landscape. Chief. Leaders. After 48 hours of continuous cross-referencing by 3 teams from the Academy of Sciences, I can now responsibly report to the organization that we hold the key to the future. In absolute silence, the elder sitting at the head of the table spoke slowly. Professor Chen, you are a hero of this nation and a titan in the scientific community. What we need is data, not adjectives. Understood. Professor Chen Guofeng straightened his back and turned on the large screen. This is specimen 01, also known as the solid-state hydrogen battery that Comrade Lin Han brought back from the Lighthouse camp in the other world. Energy density 5,000. This isn't just a number. It means if we install this in a submarine, our conventional submarines could stay submerged indefinitely, just like nuclear subs. If we install it in a tank, our armored forces will no longer need fuel trucks tagging along. If we install it in drones, our drone swarms could circle the Earth 3 times without landing, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. The image switched. This is the carbon chip architecture synthesized and transmitted back by Dr. Suan. Although we currently can't produce the lithography machines for it, its design logic is a full 2 generations ahead of our current silicon chips. If we can master this, the 30 years of our country being strangled by the West over microchips will become a thing of the past. Furthermore, the neural simulation control algorithm of this exoskeleton armor, the underlying logic of this holographic imaging, the entire conference room erupted in excitement. Has this been verified? The elder tapped on the table. Verified. We used that battery to power a high-energy laser emitter in the lab. The result? It easily burned through 10 layers of steel tank armor plating, and the battery level dropped by less than 1%. The elder looked at Zhao Jiangguo on the video screen. Zhao Jiangguo! Does Comrade Lin Han have any requests? Reporting to the chief, Zhao Jiangguo said in a deep voice. Comrade Lin Han's stance is very clear. He is handing it over to the nation. He only made one request. He hopes the nation can utilize these technologies to rapidly build up combat power and provide reverse support to the other world, because the threats over there might far exceed our imagination. The elder swept his gaze across the room. Comrades, to refuse a gift from heaven is to invite heaven's wrath. If that young man has entrusted this massive wealth into our hands, then we must not only accept it, but also forge it into a sharp sword to protect the rejuvenation of our nation. Huaxia. I propose, first,
Establish the Kunlun Technology Group. Using civil-military integration as a cover, headed by Comrade Chen Guofeng. Mobilize the power of the entire nation and focus on reverse engineering the technology from the other world. Second, elevate the security clearance of Operation Tinder to the absolute highest level. Aside from those sitting here and those directly involved, anyone attempting to pry into this information will be charged with treason. Third, approve the deployment of additional engineering corps and special forces companies to Base 01. Comrade Lin Han is right. We must support each other across the two worlds. Experiments that can't be done on Earth will be done over there. Whatever supplies they lack, we will provide. If they need manpower, we give them manpower. If they need funds, we give them funds. If they need guns, we give them guns. The elder suddenly stood up. This time we must show the world what Huaxia's speed truly means across the ocean at the headquarters of an intelligence agency. Sir, something's wrong. What is it? The energy grid and logistics network of that eastern nation have recently shown some highly inexplicable fluctuations. They've mobilized a massive amount of strategic materials, special alloys, tungsten, macro cement, even some sealed military equipment. But these supplies aren't flowing into any known key national projects. They aren't for building aircraft carriers, nor are they being shipped to the Northwest Launch Center. Their destination is incredibly vague. They seem to be converging on a southern coastal city. But after that, it's like a clay ox entering the sea. They just vanish without a trace. Furthermore, the civilian power grid load in that area hasn't significantly increased. On the contrary, encrypted communication traffic through military fiber optics has spiked by 300%. Bizarre. The director narrowed his eyes. This massive silent mobilization made him smell extreme danger. Could it be? Are they building some secret underground defense facility or developing a new weapon that requires colossal resources? Whatever they're doing, keep a close eye on them. The director set his coffee cup down, his tone ice cold. Activate our deep cover agents over there. Tell them at all costs, even if it's just a scrap of waste paper, I need to know exactly what Huaxia is hiding. Half a month later, Haven City High-Tech Zone. A large-scale industrial park that had been shut down for half a year due to a broken capital chain has now been completely resurrected within half a month. Late at night, countless military trucks roared back and forth. Heavily armed riot police locked down every intersection. The industrial park was even upgraded to a temporary no-fly zone. And right in front of the central office building, workers had just hung up a brand new sign. Kunlun Technology Co. Lot, no ribbon-cutting ceremony, no media coverage. The company destined to change the world's landscape was established in eerie silence, top floor of the office building. As the executive director of the Kunlun project, Limo looked down at the bustling scene below. The coffee in his hand had long gone cold. Boss Lee, the young secretary holding a thick stack of documents, walked into the room. The first batch of raw materials has entered the warehouse. 300 tons of special titanium alloy, tungsten, 50 tons of high-purity graphene, and rare earth permanent magnetic materials urgently mobilized. From the National Reserve, everything is ready. What about the production lines? Limo turned around, his eyes sharp despite many sleepless nights. Running at full capacity, based on Professor Chen's blueprints, we pulled all-nighters to retrofit 3 automated robotic arm production lines. Line 1 is handling the hydraulic joints for the Kunlun exoskeleton. Line 2 is in charge of precision casting for the load-bearing skeleton. Line 3 is handling the core energy transmission module. It's estimated that in 24 hours, the first batch of standard compliant components will roll off the line. Limo nodded, pointing at the red secure phone on his desk. Just now, 3 more suppliers called to snoop around, asking what exactly we're building that requires such absurdly strict material purity. Go tell the procurement department. Anyone who dares to ask one more question will be immediately removed from the supplier list, blacklisted permanently. Also, notify the security department to raise the industrial park's security clearance by another level. Understood. Limo massaged his temples. Half a month ago, he was still getting headaches over project funding. Yet now, a single signature from him moves hundreds of millions. Mobilizing materials. By the trainload. This kind of power was intoxicating, but it also filled him with awe. That Project 01, he muttered. Where the hell did it come from? As someone at the execution level, he had no right to know. The dual realm portal command only gave orders to produce the highest tier components at all costs, then transport them via the priority line. Report. The secretary returned shortly after leaving, lowering his voice. A batch of special equipment just arrived, airlifted directly from the Institute of Biology under the National Academy of Sciences. Escorting it are two fully armed special ops squads. They specified it must be delivered to that special warehouse. Limo stood up abruptly. The special warehouse was the most mysterious destination for the project's supplies. Let them through, he said in a deep voice. Pass down my orders. From now on, any vehicle heading to that warehouse will take the priority lane, exempt from inspection. No one is allowed to obstruct them. No inspections. No records. Understood. Over in the parallel world. Forward Base 01. After the personnel and equipment from Lighthouse Camp were fully integrated, the once cold military base now had a touch of scientific warmth. The second basement level had been converted into a comprehensive laboratory. Absolutely brilliant. Inside the biology lab, Professor Zhang, a leading figure from the National Academy of Sciences Institute of Biology, held a lab notebook and exclaimed in admiration, "Dr. Su, for you to come up with using the extract from mutated plants to stabilize the virus's activity under such resource-scarce conditions, it's truly a stroke of genius. We've spent our whole lives working in sterile labs on Earth, always thinking of ways to eradicate viruses. But we never thought of utilizing their energy properties. This discovery of yours might just rewrite the history of human immunology." Su Yuan wiped the sweat from her forehead. "Honestly, my hand was forced. We didn't have cold storage equipment at the time. If the virus sample left the host for more than 3 hours, it would lose its activity. I tried everything I had on hand. Finally, I discovered that the sap from the ghost face vine growing in these ruins could put the virus into a dormant state. Practice truly does breed truth." Another physicist stared intently at the glowing crystal core in his hand. "And this crystal core, at first, we thought it was just some kind of biological gallstone. Who would have thought? It's actually a high-density energy aggregate? This energy structure completely defies existing laws of thermodynamics. Here, the laws of physics seem to be a bit looser." I leaned against the door frame, watching this harmonious scene. The chemical reaction between the bizarre materials of this world and Earth's solid industrial foundation is definitely not as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. "Commander," Li Zhan walked over, reeking of machine oil. "The first batch of Kunlun exoskeleton components from Earth has arrived. Our engineers are currently assembling them. Do you want to go take a look?" I quickly headed down to the equipment workshop on the first floor. This place had turned into a miniature armory. Over a dozen mechanics were bustling around 3 silver-gray machines. Compared to the bulky Titan prototypes from Lighthouse Camp, these 3 Kunlun exoskeletons are truly works of art. Aerodynamically designed titanium alloy armor, biomimetic hydraulic structures. On the back is a miniaturized solid-state hydrogen battery created by Professor Chen. This is Kunlun. Li Zhan stroked the cold machine. Total weight 35 kilograms. Maximum payload 150 kilograms. A 100-meter sprint can be clocked at 12 seconds. Furthermore, it's integrated with the most advanced fire control support system. Even a rookie wearing it can easily control the recoil of a heavy machine gun. "This is what you call a higher dimensional strike." I nodded in satisfaction. "Equip the special ops squad first. I have a feeling these peaceful days won't last much longer." The walkie-talkie at my waist crackled to life. "Lin Han, come to the P3 lab." Su Yuan's voice was brimming with excitement. "That thing is finished." Li Jian and I exchanged a glance. "Looks like today is a good day." I patted his shoulder. "Let's go. Let's see what surprise Dr. Su has prepared for us." P3 Biology Lab. Su Yuan took a metal tube out of the fridge. Inside was a pale blue serum. On the screen, Professor Chen Guofeng and Zhao Jianguo both wore grave expressions. "This is the key." Su Yuan gently shook the vial under the light. "This serum combines the induction principles of serum number 2, the ghost face vine we recently discovered, a dose of vaccine plus pure energy extracted from the crystal core." "How safe is it?" Professor Chen asked. "Theoretically, it's safe." Su Yuan's expression was dead serious. The original serum number 2 violently cracked the human gene chain, forcibly trading life force for power.
But this improved version, you can think of it as a gentle key. It doesn't force the genes open. Instead, by supplementing high-purity energy, it stimulates cellular self-repair and micro-enhancement. What about the effects? Zhao Jianguo was more concerned with practical combat. It's not as exaggerated as the berserk state. Su Yuan assessed. It's estimated to boost strength and endurance by about 30% compared to a normal person. Reaction speed increases by 20%. Most importantly, it significantly strengthens the immune system, creating a certain level of resistance to the virus. In other words, a soldier injected with this serum, even if scratched by a zombie, as long as they're injected with the antidote within an hour, will mostly likely not mutate. This is a strategic breakthrough. Professor Chen slammed the table in excitement, but Su Yuan's voice trailed off. This is still a first-generation experimental product after all. We need a volunteer for human clinical trials. I'll do it. I immediately raised my hand. I'm the one in charge of this base. It's my duty. Stop messing around, Zhao Jianguo's voice from the screen cut me off. Lin Han, you're not just the base commander. You're also the sole host of the dual realm portal. Your life belongs to the nation. It's not yours alone. Don't try to play the hero. I pulled my hand back. Li Jian stepped forward quickly, about to take off his jacket, but I stopped him. Don't you move either. I looked at him calmly. You're the captain of the Special Ops Squad, the highest-ranking combat commander of the base. Until it's confirmed to be 100% safe, I can't gamble with your life. Then who do we find? Li Jian frowned. Go to the POW camp. Bring that guy, Zhang Hu, here. Tell him there's a chance to turn his life around. Ask him if he's got the guts to take it. Give the order. Understood. 5 minutes later. Formerly an assault trooper for the Black Steel Syndicate, Zhang Hu stood in the lab dripping with sweat. This drug can make you stronger, but it could also kill you. I stared right at him, getting straight to the point. If it succeeds, you'll be an official combat operative of Base 01. You'll get double the points in compensation, and we'll wipe the slate clean. If it fails, we'll set up a tombstone for you. Zhang Hu's Adam's apple bobbed wildly. The massive temptation overcame his fear. Boss, I'll do it. He gritted his teeth and plopped down onto the examination table. In 18 years, I'll be a hero all over again. Let's do this. The cold needle pierced his jugular vein. Halfway through the injection, Zhang Hu let out a blood-curdling scream. His muscles spasmed uncontrollably. Veins bulged, like streams of wildfire coursing through him. Heart rate, 160. Blood pressure. It's spiking. Suan clenched her fists. His physique isn't as strong as Captain Lee's. The reaction is much more violent. Hold him down. The special task force members pinned his limbs down. Foaming at the mouth, he thrashed around like a madman. 10 minutes of agonizing, hellish torture passed until the convulsions finally stopped. He slumped over like a pile of mud, his entire body flushed red. Heart rate is dropping. Body temperature is normal. Suan let out a long sigh of relief. It's a success. Zhang Hu opened his eyes. The world seemed unusually clear. The weakness from starvation was replaced by a surging, violent strength. I feel. He sat up abruptly and instinctively clenched his fist. The stainless steel handle was crushed flat in his grip. Holy shit, even he was terrified by it. Strength increased by about 40%. Suan skimmed through the data. Maybe because his initial foundation was quite weak, the level of enhancement is much more pronounced. Excellent. I looked at the dumbfounded Zhang Hu. Congratulations, you won the bet. From now on, you are a member of the Xinghe Special Task Force. Thank you, boss. He excitedly dropped to his knees and kowtowed in gratitude. Right at that moment, a violent tremor shattered the cups on the table. Alert. Lei Long's anxious roar echoed through the PA system. The underground defense wall has been breached. I repeat, the underground defense wall has been breached. Something just got in, damn it, right beneath the armory. My expression changed drastically. The armory is the lifeblood of this base. Looks like our guests couldn't wait any longer. I grabbed the walkie-talkie, my eyes turning cold. Li Jian, take your special task force and suit up in the new gear. Zhang Hu, you've reaped the benefits. Now it's time to put your life on the line. Understood? Li Jian radiated murderous intent. He put on his helmet. Zhang Hu grabbed an engineer's shovel, a ruthless glint flashing in his eyes. Don't worry, Chief. Whoever dares to touch our armory, I'll tear them to shreds. Out in the corridor leading to the underground armory, a 2-meter-wide hole had been torn open at the bottom of the fortified defense wall. From deep within the hole came the spine-chilling sound of claws scraping against stone. All units, attention, set up a fan-shaped defensive line. Shields in the front, suppressive fire in the back. Li Jian, clad in the silver gray, Kunlun Type I exoskeleton armor, calmly issued commands. This machine, a fusion of otherworldly energy and Earth's industry, exuded a terrifying power. 12 special task force members quickly locked down the corridor, their assault rifles aimed straight at the breach. "I'm ready too," Zhang He, who had just been injected with the gene serum, came panting as he ran over. In his hands, he carried a massive 50-pound hydraulic cutter. But right now, it looked as light as a twig. "Don't get reckless. Hold the blind spot on the right." Legion shot him a glance. "Got it." Zhang He gulped. His primal instincts told him that whatever was in that tunnel was far more dangerous than any zombie. Deep within the tunnel, dozens of glowing red dots lit up. Thermal imaging shows high-energy biological signatures. Count: 30. Distance: 3 seconds. 2 seconds. A dark shadow lunged out like lightning, aiming straight for Li Jian at the front line. It was a beast-like monster with no facial features, its arms mutated into massive bone claws. "Hold your ground! Wait till it gets close, then fire!" Li Jian roared. The mech suit immediately lowered its center of gravity, taking a defensive stance. The razor-sharp claws slashed violently against Li Jian's crossed arms. The terrifying impact cracked the ground beneath him, but he didn't take a single step back. "Is that all you've got? Get the hell off me!" The engine roared to maximum output. Li Jian's right fist shot out like a cannonball. The monster's chest caved in, and it was sent flying back into the tunnel. Now, suppressive fire. A storm of metal woven from 12 assault rifles instantly rained down on the tunnel entrance. With the support of the exoskeletons, the assault rifles unleashed a relentless barrage. The Nightstalkers that had just poked their heads out were instantly riddled with holes. "Die!" One member fired his gun one-handed, while reloading with the other. A few monsters slipped through the net and clung to the ceiling, trying to bypass the frontal crossfire. On the right, on the ceiling, "I got him!" Zhang He sprang into action. He charged forward like a raging bull, swinging the massive hydraulic cutter with brutal force. The monster's head shattered in midair like a rotten watermelon. Another monster gouged a deep gash into Zhang He's bulletproof vest. Blood poured out. But Zhang He, whose pain receptors were dulled by the gene serum, grabbed the monster by the neck and snapped its spine with the cutter. "Ha ha ha! This is awesome!" The battle lasted for 15 minutes, until no more dark shadows rushed out of the tunnel. The gunfire finally began to die down. Corpses piled up like a mountain. Black blood pooled up to their ankles. "Ceasefire! Stay alert!" Li Jian raised his fist. His armor was covered in scratch marks. He activated the exoskeleton's scanning mode to examine the monster corpses. No sense of pain. Bone density is 3 times that of a normal zombie, and it seems living underground for so long has caused their vision to degenerate. But their hearing and sense of smell are incredibly sharp. They even have sharp barbs on their claws, perfectly suited for digging. "Those are Nightstalkers." Suan's voice came through the comms. "I've seen this description in the Black Steel Corporation's database. They are the vanguard scouts of the Broodmother, specializing in tunneling and night ambushes. Their appearance here proves the Broodmother has pinpointed our location, and the main horde isn't far behind." Li Jian stared into the bottomless tunnel. "Seal the entrance," he decisively barked out the order. "Engineering squad, bring the quick-drying cement over here, seal this tunnel shut. Also, plant seismic sensors in the walls. If they dare to keep digging, we'll blow them sky high." "Yes, sir." I cut directly into the comms channel. "Li Jian, how does it feel?" "Reporting, Chief." Li Jian flexed his arm. "The gear is performing flawlessly. Total domination. Aside from the cooling system running a bit hot under continuous overload, there are no other issues. As for Zhang He, he was born to fight, ruthless enough, tough enough. Even though he lacks formal training, he's an absolute beast in chaotic, close-quarters combat." "Excellent." Standing in the command center, I coldly issued my orders. "Clean up the battlefield. Dig out all the gold cores. Don't waste a single one. Notify everyone." This was just the appetizer. The main course is yet to come. The alarm had barely stopped when the ear-piercing air raid sirens suddenly blared across the base's sky.
This is the command center. Radar detects countless high-speed targets at the surface defense perimeter. Zhao Jiangguo's ironclad voice rang out. They're probing the blind spots in our fire network. I repeat, they are probing our blind spots. Panic quickly spread. The refugees from Lighthouse camp who had just merged into the base fell into absolute hysteria. It's those monsters. They've caught up to us. The walls won't stop them. They can climb walls. They can dig tunnels. Shut up, the guard shouted. Everyone stay where you are. No running around. This is Base 01, not your rundown camp. Searchlights swept frantically across the ruins. Outside the perimeter, dozens of dark shadows nimbly dodged into the unlit corners, moving tactically to find a breakthrough point. Report, Outpost 3 in Sector C has spotted enemy tracks. They're moving too fast. We can't lock on. Report, digging traces found at the base of the wall in Sector D. They're trying to breach from here. Inside the command center, Zhao Jiangguo analyzed. First, they used tunneling to draw away our main forces. Then, they use ground forces to probe our anti-air blind spots and reaction speed. These are absolutely not wild beasts. This is an army. Suan's face turned pale. They have a hive mind controlling them. These Nightstalkers are just its eyes and ears and its tentacles. If we don't crush them in one fell swoop, they'll keep sending cannon fodder until they figure out our trump cards. Want to see our trump cards, huh? A ruthless smirk crept onto Zhao Jiangguo's face. Then let's show them exactly what a trump card is. He grabbed the comms. Li Long. Activate the area denial system. Fire 5 flares. Light up the entire sky for me. Then get the earth shield warmed up and ready. Copy that. 5 flares instantly turned the night sky as bright as day. The night hunters closing in on the wall and the Angxia wyverns circling above were left with nowhere to hide. The camouflage on the bases, massive artillery towers was stripped away. The advanced close-in weapon system, Earth Shield 3000, revealed itself. The 11-barrel 30mm rotary auto cannon, with a fire rate of up to 11,000 rounds per minute, radar locked. Fire control data, calculations complete. Die.
Lei Long slammed the firing button. Ultra-high-density armor-piercing rounds blazed like a whip of fire, erupting like the Grim Reaper's scythe, sweeping with absolute precision. The Angxia wyverns in the air didn't even have time to shriek. They were instantly shredded into a bloody mist of minced meat within 5 seconds. The fiery whip swept across the ground. A terrifying fire rate of 180 rounds per second pulverized the night hunters and their cover into dust, wiped clean in just 5 seconds. The probing monsters were completely obliterated, leaving behind nothing but a pile of mangled flesh. The roar of the artillery ceased. The survivors' jaws dropped, terrified by this godlike display of firepower. It's over? A guard from the Lighthouse camp muttered in shock. Before this, just to kill one of these monsters, we had to sacrifice several of our brothers. And those wyverns, we couldn't even scratch them. But they only took 5 seconds. That's the difference. A veteran proudly patted his shoulder. This is what we call integrated information and firepower. The moment the radar sees you, you're already dead. Around here, any problem that can be solved with ammo will absolutely not be paid for with human lives. Get used to it. Inside the command center, target destruction confirmed. Radar detects no further high-energy signatures in the area. They've retreated. Suan stared at the monitor. The Broodmother has severed its connection with these scouts. It got the information it wanted. Ground assault is unviable. Aerial ambush is a bust, too. So it's forced to change its approach. Zhao Jiangguo gazed intently into the night sky. Notify everyone. Do not let your guard down. If the probing phase is over, it's highly likely it will launch a full-scale assault next. Li Zhan, have your special task force take a quick rest. Also, he looked at Suan. The golden cores that Dr. Su just extracted, prioritize them for Zhang He's squad. We need more augmented soldiers. The next battle will be the real decider. Half a month later. At the Kunlun Tech Industrial Park, Haiban City, late at night. The industrial park was ablaze with lights. Inside the massive steel-structured factories, hundreds of CNC machines formed an industrial assembly line that was truly awe-inspiring. This place had become a heavily guarded, colossal steel machine. Outside, sniper teams were densely deployed. Inside, a fully closed-loop management protocol was enforced. Hurry up. This batch needs to be loaded onto the trucks before 3 a.m. The logistics chief waved his baton, yelling at the workers loading crates disguised as agricultural machinery. Only the core personnel knew that each of these crates contained a Kunlun personal combat exoskeleton, enough to spark a military revolution. Inside the factory, 3 automated production lines were running at full capacity. Titanium alloy plates dancing under the robotic arms, perfectly integrated with solid-state hydrogen batteries and microhydraulic servos from the other world. Boss Lee.
The latest yield report is in. On the second-floor walkway, the young secretary excitedly handed over a tablet. The yield rate for the Kunlun Type A, mass-produced exoskeletons, has increased to 98%. Our current daily output can reach 50 units. This is an absolute miracle in industrial history. 50 units. Limo skimmed the report, his eyes stern. It's not enough. The orders from above are clear. Within 3 days, I need to see 200 finished units shipped to that location. This is a hard deadline. 3 days? 200 units! The secretary gasped. That means we have to increase production by another 30%. The machines are already running on overdrive. Then add more coolant, add more lubricant. People can rest, but the machines don't. Limo suddenly spun around. This is a special emergency order directly from the military commission. No one is allowed to hold it up. Every single exoskeleton must be flawless, because they aren't just machines, they are the second lives of our soldiers. Understood. Limo turned back to look at the production line. A newly assembled black exoskeleton was nimbly performing running and jumping tests. Go make history. 3:30 a.m., 5 heavy-duty trucks, escorted by armored vehicles, left the industrial park, heading straight for an abandoned underground parking lot in Hyben City. Inside Base 01, the light portal in the underground plaza radiated a deep blue glow. Crates of supplies were continuously transported through. The next day, Zhang Hu stared at the neatly lined-up silver-gray tactical exoskeletons, his jaw dropping. From Li Zhan's crudely pieced-together prototype armor to these mass-produced suits coated in matte black anti-reflective paint, integrated with honeycomb flexible frames right in front of him. This was true art, true industry. This one is yours. The logistics officer pushed an exoskeleton in front of him. Zhang Hu. ID number 01025. Based on your physique and strength data after the gene serum injection, this is a custom-designed heavy assault exoskeleton. Heavy assault? That's right. It sacrifices a bit of mobility, but significantly boosts frontal ballistic armor and payload capacity. The logistics officer pointed to the reinforced hydraulic struts. Its thrust is 1.5 times that of the standard version, allowing you to easily wield heavy melee weapons or single-handedly operate a heavy machine gun. Zhang Hu tremblingly touched the cold metal surface. Try it on. Li Zhan, who was already wearing the commander-type exoskeleton, stepped forward. Yes, sir. System booting up. A mild electric current ran through his entire body. Zhang Hu felt his body become incredibly light. Power surged through every vein. How does it feel? Li Zhan asked. I feel like I could take on 10 guys at once. Zhang Hu clenched his fists. The pneumatic hydraulic servos let out a sharp hiss. Don't rush it. You'll get your chance to fight. Li Zhan patted his shoulder. We have a total of 150 sets of this gear. Prioritized for gene-enhanced recruits like you. From now on, you are Base 01's heavy infantry company. He turned to the over 100 armored warriors. Remember this well. This armor was issued to you by the organization. Once you put it on, you are no longer apocalyptic drifters. You are the defenders of civilization. Behind us are over 2,000 unarmed civilians. This is Base 01. If we take a step back, they are dead for sure. Do I make myself clear? Sir! Yes, sir! Their roars echoed loudly. Before the echoes even faded, the ear-piercing wail of a maximum-level air raid siren tore through the air. Report! The radar operator's terrified voice rang out. Long-range air search radar has detected a massive swarm of aerial targets. Coordinates 0-300. Altitude 2,000. Quantity exceeds 10,000. I repeat, quantity exceeds 10,000. Li Zhan looked up at the surveillance screen. Tens of thousands of Anxia wyverns formed a pitch-black tsunami, blotting out the moon and stars. Good lord, is that a dark cloud? Is this the main course you were talking about? Li Zhan lowered his visor. His eyes flashed with a red glint. All units. Condition 1. Prepare for combat. Heavy infantry company. Follow me to the surface. Shoot every last one of those bird freaks out of the sky in the underground command center. Dozens of LCD screens glowed brightly. Report, long-range early warning radar detects a massive anomalous signal. Coordinates by 030. Distance 250 kilometers. Altitude 3 kilometers. Speed approximately 200 km/h. Li Zhan quickly pulled up the tactical map. Preliminary estimates put the target count at over 10,000. The radar operator's voice trembled slightly, confirmed to be a swarm of Anxia wyverns. 10,000 of them, Li Zhan frowned. Activate Level 1, Air Defense Alert. Notify the Red Flag Company to prepare to engage. This isn't a battle, it's an industrial-scale pest extermination. The camouflage netting outside the base slid off. 4 HQ-16F surface-to-air missile launcher vehicles aimed toward the sky. The phased array radar instantly locked onto the dark cloud 200 kilometers away. Targets entering firing range. Distance 70 kilometers. Fire full salvo. Copy that. First volley. 32 missiles launched. Dozens of missiles tore through the night sky. At a distance of 70 kilometers, the fragmentation warheads formed spheres of death amidst the dark cloud. Tens of thousands of shrapnel pieces triggered a chain reaction. A rain of blood and flesh poured down from the night sky. First interception volley confirmed kills, approximately 1,500 targets. Second missile volley reloaded. Fire. Third volley. Fire. 5 waves of missiles acted like giant brooms, sweeping the dark cloud clean. However, the surviving wyverns still slipped through the interception net, closing in on the base at a distance of 10 kilometers. There, they had to face an even more despair-inducing web of firepower, entering close-in air defense zone. Earth Shield 3000 unlocked. Fire at will. The 11-barrel 30mm rotary autocannons roared. Blazing red whips of fire, stretching up to 3 kilometers long, tore through the night sky. A fire rate of 11,000 rounds per minute wove an absolute kill zone. The wyverns that slipped through didn't even have time to let out a cry. They instantly exploded into mists of crimson blood. Defense zone cleared. Confirmed, no surviving targets. The entire process took less than 10 minutes. 10,000 Anxia wyverns had been completely annihilated. On the ground, Zheng Hu and his squad watched the fireworks display in the sky, looking at each other in dumbfounded silence. So that's it? He patted the chainsword in his hand. I thought I'd at least get to warm up a bit. This is modern warfare, Li Zhan said calmly. No hand-to-hand combat, no hot-blooded heroics, only data and cleanup. For these low-level mutants, they don't even have the right to see our faces. He turned his head, looking deep into the ruins. The real threat is still out there. Warning! The radar operator's voice suddenly trembled. High-energy target signature detected. Target is moving extremely fast. It's flying close to the ground, 5 kilometers from the base. Altitude is under 50 meters. On the main screen, a massive purple blip dashed out of the darkness. It had been using low-altitude interference and the countless wyvern corpses filling the sky to hide itself. Only when it closed in on the base at a distance of 2 kilometers did it suddenly shoot up. This was a premeditated ambush. Tiande, lock onto the target. The fiery whips continued their defense. However, the 30mm high-explosive armor-piercing rounds only caused ripples around the target. They were completely deflected by a thick, dark, purple aura. Energy shield, Suan cried out. According to the Lighthouse camp's research data, this is a unique ability found only in Tier 3 mutants. They can convert the energy in their golden core into a biological force field, creating a physical defense. How tough is it? Extremely tough. At the very least, it's equivalent to composite armor over 500mm thick. Under the searchlights, a colossal Wyvern King with a wingspan of over 15 meters revealed itself. Withstanding the firepower of the Earth Shield, its eyes burned with tactical intelligence and fury. It plummeted toward the base like a purple meteor. It's draining its shield's energy, but at this speed, it can absolutely crash into the base before the shield depletes. The tank's elevation angle isn't high enough. We can't lock on, Li Long shouted over the comms. It's flying too high. Our main guns can't reach it. He looked at the incoming blip, his eyes cold. Li Long, don't panic. Li Zhan calmly spoke over the general comms. If the missiles can't hit it and the anti-air guns can't pierce it, then he drew out a projected interception zone. Prepare to initiate Capture Plan 0. Activate the electromagnetic gravity trap. All ground personnel, retreat to the bunkers immediately. Heavy Infantry Company, prepare to engage. Li Zhan, ready for action. Open a path and let it in. Li Zhan locked onto that purple shadow. If it wants to play decapitation strike, we'll play along to the end. If it wants hand-to-hand combat, we'll give it exactly what it wants. Copy that. Heavy infantry company is in position. We'll be waiting for it in the base plaza. Li Zan replied coldly. Suan, analyze its weaknesses. Understood. The shield's energy comes from the golden core inside its body. If we can strike the golden core directly or make its energy depletion rate exceed its recovery rate, the shield will instantly collapse. In other words, we need stronger firepower or more precise strikes. Theoretically, the 125mm armor-piercing rounds from the tank guns are enough to penetrate its shield, Suan said, but only on the condition that it's on the ground, or at an altitude low enough for the tanks to aim. Then let's bring it down here. Li Zan drew a red circle on the main screen, his eyes burning like torches. If it wants to play decapitation strike, we'll play along to the end. The hard surface of the base's central plaza instantly cracked open. The colossal Wyvern King crashed down. Explosive gale force winds blew supply crates flying in all directions. It raised its head high, letting out a soul-shaking roar. Its purple eyes were filled with contempt and sheer brutality, but the panicked retreat it expected never happened. The square was dead silent. Cold floodlights beamed straight at it. Dozens of warriors clad in Kunlun exoskeletons slowly stepped forward, gripping unrevved chainswords and harpoon guns. Li Zan, the man in the lead, cracked his hydraulic-assisted neck. Welcome to hell! The Wyvern King seemed to understand the provocation. It let out a furious roar. Its spiked tail whipped forward like a siege hammer, tearing through the air. Scatter! Li Zan roared. The hydraulic thrusters instantly fired, launching him to the right. The massive tail smashed into the reinforced concrete, carving a trench half a meter deep. Move! Don't let it take flight! 4 special alloy steel cables shot out like venomous snakes. Clang! The cables snagged the joints of the Wyvern King's wings. 2 others wrapped tightly around its hind legs. The Wyvern King thrashed wildly, flapping its wings frantically. Pull it back, damn it! Pull it down! Zhang Hu bellowed, pushing his exoskeleton's power to the absolute max. His steel boots sparked as they dragged against the ground. 3 other soldiers strained to hold the cables tight. Together, the 4 generated over 5 tons of pulling force. But against a Tier 3 Beast King, it still wasn't enough. The Wyvern King gave one massive flap of its wings, yanking all 4 of them off the ground in an instant. Bastard, the power gap is too huge. This beast must have dozens of tons of thrust suspended in midair. Zhang He gritted his teeth. Then let's give it a little extra dose. Li Zan revved up his chainsword, using the recoil to launch himself up like an artillery shell. He aimed straight for the Wyvern King's unscaled underbelly. The Wyvern King unhinged its bloody maw, a purple light glowing deep within its throat. Watch out, it's about to. Oh, acid breath! Suan screamed over the comms. It was too late. Li Zan crossed his arms to shield his body. The thick purple acid instantly engulfed him. Sizzle. Billowing white smoke rose from his armor. Alarms blared wildly. Warning. Armor integrity dropped to 60%. Warning. External sensors offline, Captain. Zhang Hu's eyes nearly popped out of his head. With one hand, he pulled the pin of a high-explosive grenade with his teeth and hurled it straight at the Wyvern King's head. Eat shit, you bastard! The grenade detonated right in its face. The Wyvern King, the blinding flash and shockwave, dazzled it for a split second. The acid breath was interrupted. Li Zan crashed heavily to the ground. His exoskeleton was pitted and scarred, but he stubbornly stood back up. I'm fine, enraged. Now's the time to strike. The Wyvern King went completely berserk. It folded its wings, charging forward like a heavy tank, intent on trampling these bugs into mush. The ground quaked, but no one took a single step back, because the true king was about to make its entrance. From the shadows of the side garage came the heavy, mechanical clunk of a shell being loaded. The sound of treads crushing the earth echoed out. The instincts of a Tier 3 creature made the Wyvern King freeze. A cold, heavy steel monster rolled out from the darkness. A Type 99A main battle tank, its 125mm smoothbore gun, was aimed dead center at the Wyvern King's head from less than 50 meters away. I heard your shield is pretty tough, huh? I said coldly over the comms. Armor-piercing round. Loaded. The Wyvern King sensed the terrifying threat of death. It frantically channeled its energy, doubling the thickness of its purple energy shield. Fire!
The muzzle flashed, blowing away the surrounding rubble. With a muzzle velocity of 1,700 meters per second, the fin-stabilized armor-piercing shell tore through the air. Against this absolute kinetic energy, the purple shield, supposedly capable of stopping 30mm autocannons, shattered like flimsy paper. The AP shell pierced straight through the Wyvern King's chest, blowing a massive hole right where its beast core was located. Flesh, blood, and organs splattered everywhere. The shell's residual kinetic energy was still enough to blast a deep crater behind the monster. The Wyvern King died on its feet. The purple light flickered out. The colossal beast corpse crashed heavily to the ground. Holy shit, is this the true justice of a tank gun? Still dangling in the air, Zhang Hu gulped. Suan breathed a sigh of relief. I stood in the command room. This is exactly the result we wanted. Notify the recovery team. Extract the beast core. That's our ticket to Tier 3. And one more thing. Add 2 chicken drumsticks to every heavy infantryman's dinner ration tonight. Copy that. The gunpowder smoke gradually cleared. Suan, wearing a white biohazard suit, used a high-frequency laser scalpel to carefully extract a dark purple crystal from the charred flesh. Inside the crystal, it looked as if a nebula was sealed within. The energy pulses slightly distorted the surrounding air. The radiation and toxicity levels are extremely high, but the energy is incredibly pure. Its energy density is at least 10 times that of a Tier 2 core. If we can reverse engineer its structure, our solid-state hydrogen battery R&D will take a massive leap forward. I walked up beside her and took the lead box. Good work. But its first mission isn't to be a battery. It's to be a key. Let's go. Let's see what kind of door this key can open. In the underground light gate hall, I held the dark purple Tier 3 core, feeling its surging energy. The light gate swirled violently, emitting a hum that shook the entire base. High-tier energy core detected. Tier 3, base energy reserves detected at full capacity. Upgrade conditions met. Initiate upgrade immediately. Confirm. The core dissolved into a streak of purple light and merged into the vortex. An invisible shockwave rippled outward. The light gate rapidly expanded into a massive 10 by 10 meter square, wide enough for 2 main battle tanks to pass side by side. The blue portal now has a noble purple hue, along with mysterious glowing characters. Dual world gate system, level 3 size, 10 by 10 meters. 50% reduction in energy consumption to maintain continuous open state. New feature unlocked, spatial storage. Unlocks a sub-storage space of 1,000 cubic meters. Absolute security. Time stasis. Subgate. Can open a gate at a designated location in the other world, directly connected to the main gate, enabling instantaneous material transfer. Environmental filter field, centered on the light gate, with a radius of 5 kilometers. Automatically purifies. Viruses and radiation in the air. Suppresses the activity of low-level zombies. The spatial storage has finally appeared. I tried to store the box. The process took less than a second. A personal armory that can hold dozens of tanks at any time, completely solving logistics issues. But that pales in comparison to the strategic value of the second feature, the subgate. With this feature, I can directly open a teleportation gate right at resource points. Lin Han, look at this! Suan stared intently at the meter and exclaimed, the radiation levels around the light gate are rapidly decreasing. What's more, the virus concentration in the air is also going down. This gate, it's purifying the environment. It's called the Environmental Purification Field. From today onward, a 5-kilometer radius around base 01 will be the only clean haven in this wasteland. We can actually consider taking off our hazmat suits. I smiled faintly. It's 100 times more effective than the best air purification towers on Earth. If the range expands, that day will come. I interrupted her, my gaze firm as I looked at the soldiers behind me. Pass down the order. Immediately expand the underground garage. We need to prepare to welcome some more big guys. The gate has expanded. That means Earth's heavy construction machinery and even more devastating weapons can finally enter the field. Secondly, have the general staff draft a new combat plan. Our next objective is no longer just sweeping the immediate vicinity. I pointed to a red zone in the northwest corner of the map. This is Redstone Canyon. According to the Lighthouse camp's records, it's rich in rare earth minerals, along with a high-energy companion ore known as redstone. Professor Chen Guofeng sent a message. The reverse engineering of the solid-state hydrogen battery on Earth has hit a bottleneck. We can manufacture the batteries, but we can't solve the stability issues at high-power outputs, which means they can't be miniaturized. This redstone is a perfect natural stabilizer. Only by securing it can we truly mass-produce high-tier energy batteries. For military use, it will provide a true heart for the Kunlun exoskeletons. I pointed toward the city center. And this is the Sky Dome building. Once the tallest building in Hybin City, it houses the most complete pre-war technological database and a supercomputer center. Suan looked thoughtful. These two locations hold immense strategic value, but the price is just too high. If we were to launch a direct assault with our current forces, that was the case before. I've never been more confident. Smirks. But now that we have the subdimensional gate, distance is no longer an issue. We're going to plant our flag in Red Rock Canyon and turn that mine into our own backyard. Third basement level of the Happy Garden residential area, Hybin City, Lin Hyo Base. This was the first forward base established after the government took control of the Light Gate. After 3 months of intensive expansion, it has become a massive underground fortress with a heavy-duty railway connecting directly to the military depot. The massive light gate at the core ripples. Suan steps out. She's wearing a dark blue uniform. Only the furrow of her brow betrays an inescapable exhaustion. Welcome back to Earth. Dr. Su, I lean against the metal railing, tossing my car keys as I greet her with a smile. Suan takes a greedy breath of air. In the other world, at Base 01, no matter how thick the protective walls were, the outside was always filled with radioactive dust and the stench of decay. It was so suffocating you didn't even dare to breathe. But here, even the dusty air of the basement smells sweet. All vitals are normal. No viruses detected. The green light on the scanner flashes. Thanks to the purification field of the Level 3 light gate, the tedious decontamination process has been bypassed. Go to the locker room and change first. Since you're on vacation, you don't need to be so formal. A few minutes later, Suan changed into a white sweater and light blue jeans. This was the first time in 12 years she had taken off her combat gear. The elevator went up. The numbers ticked from B3 to 1. I noticed her gripping the handrail nervously. The doors opened. There were no sirens or monstrous roars. What flooded her eardrums was the vibrant hustle and bustle of life. Mr. Wang, don't let your dog run loose, Mom. What's for dinner tonight? I want braised pork. Pushing open the apartment building doors, the midday sun poured down. The dazzling light made Suan squint. In the small plaza, kids were chasing each other around. Old folks were playing chess. A golden retriever was lazily sunbathing. In the distance, high-rises stood shoulder to shoulder, with traffic flowing endlessly. This ordinary winter afternoon scene was absolute paradise in Suwan's eyes. Tears welled up in her eyes without warning. In the alternate world, plants were man-eaters. Life was nothing but agonizing screams. But here, life was freedom. It was the sun. She reached out her hand. The warmth slipping through her fingers melted the cold ice that had built up in her blood for 12 years. Yes, the sun. I stood beside her and said softly, no need to worry about radiation, no need to worry about acid rain, and no need to worry about mutant creatures suddenly ambushing you. Here you can sleep under the sun until you wake up naturally. Thank you, she choked up, her voice trembling. If I hadn't come here, I would have almost forgotten that the world was supposed to look like this. I handed her a tissue, quietly staying by her side. This was our true sanctuary. A long while later, Suan stopped crying. We sat shoulder to shoulder on a stone bench. A young couple next to us was loudly scrolling through their phones. Holy crap, did you see the news? Huawei and Bai just announced the Kunlun tech. The new battery lets a phone last a whole week, and EVs can run for 2,000 kilometers. No wonder oil stocks are tanking so hard. Hey, should we go pre-order one right now? Suan was stunned. She turned to look at me. That was the result of the solid-state hydrogen battery tech we had brought back. I lowered my voice and chuckled. Just the byproduct tech is enough to push Earth's science and technology a massive step forward. Is this the true meaning of peace? She murmured to herself. That's right. We bring the nightmares from over there and turn them into miracles over here, using that world's resources to protect the warm, ordinary lives of this world. Suan stayed silent for a long time. Suddenly, she broke into the most relieved smile she had shown in 12 years. Linhan, take me for a walk. I want some milk tea. Extra sugar, extra ice. I laughed, making an inviting gesture. Your milk tea with extra sugar and extra ice. I handed her the ice-cold cup. Suan took a satisfying sip, feeling the sweetness explode in her mouth. It's so sweet. Over there, sugar is a strictly controlled resource, and there's absolutely no ice.
She watched the ice cube swirling in her cup, her eyes a bit dazed. You know, at the Lighthouse camp, we didn't even have an ice maker. Even in the dead of summer, we could only drink lukewarm water. We walked over to the outdoor seating area of the commercial district. She stared at the elderly folks pushing baby strollers, her gaze both tender and sorrowful. "Children," she said softly. "It's so rare to see newborns over there anymore." At the Lighthouse camp, if a woman was found to be pregnant, everyone would give up their best resources for her, because every new life was a beacon of hope. But even so, over the past 12 years, the base only welcomed the birth of 3 children, and 2 of them died before they were even a month old. I stayed silent. No words could describe that kind of pain. "Let's go. I'll take you window shopping at the mall." Half an hour later, at the largest shopping mall in Hybin City, Suan froze stiff like a statue. On the shelves, colorful fruits are piled high like mountains. In the refrigerators, meat. I neatly arranged them. There are even live fish swimming. These things, are these all real? She picked up an apple and smelled it. It was the fresh scent of fruit. Back there, only the elite could enjoy this kind of unpolluted fruit. But here, they're just piled up casually by the roadside. She watched a stalker toss slightly bruised strawberries into the trash. Suan's fists clenched tight. Her breathing became ragged. This is too extravagant. They have no idea how precious these things are. If this were back there for just a few strawberries, 10 people might die. She couldn't bear to look anymore. She turned and walked towards the daily necessities section. Dozens of shampoo brands, fragrant shower gels. They reminded her of the black soap made from animal fat and plants in the Lighthouse camp. Can these things really be eaten? She pointed at the myriad colorful snacks and asked, "Of course. Why do you ask?" Back there, all food had to undergo at least 3 virus and radiation checks before it could be consumed. We went up to the 5th floor food court. The fragrant aroma of grilled meat noodles and hot pot wafted towards us. Watching young people scroll through their phones, complaining about too much meat, the pain flashed in her eyes. "Suan, it's too extravagant." Back there, just being able to eat your fill is the greatest happiness. That's why I looked her straight in the eyes, my tone serious. We must bring the nightmare from that side and turn it into a miracle here. Using the resources of that world to protect the peaceful, warm rhythm of life in this world. Dr. Su, this is the value of our work. Suan was silent for a long time. A powerful urge to protect all of this surged within her. Lin Han, she suddenly looked up. Her eyes were completely resolute. "I'm not going out anymore. Take me to Redstone Canyon." "So soon?" I was a little surprised. "Didn't you say you'd relax for a day first?" "I've relaxed enough." Her gaze swept across the myriad lights outside the floor-to-ceiling window. She turned around and looked at me with fiery eyes. Compared to strolling through the city, I'd rather see those redstone blocks transported into the lab right now. Only those things can protect the lights here and light up the night on the other side. I dropped my playful demeanor, adjusted my collar, and extended my hand towards her. "As you wish, Chief Scientist. To thoroughly solve the stability issue of high-energy batteries, I need to establish a resource point at Redstone Canyon in the other world, and the first step is to establish a spatial anchor point at Special Storage Unit number 3 on Earth's side. This is the starting point for the subgate." I patted the cold wall and recorded the coordinates. "All right, preparations on this side are complete. The next mission is to go to the other world and open the other end of this gate." Li John habitually checked his equipment. "The helicopter squadron is ready. According to the plan, we will take off from Base 01, break through 128 kilometers of airspace, and head straight for Redstone Canyon. Then, let's go." I stepped through the light gate. On the airfield in the other world, 3 Z-20 helicopters and 2 Z-10 attack helicopters tore through the wilderness's silence. Aboard the aircraft, I led the elite team and took off into the air. Suan stood on the ground, her face filled with worry. "Dr. Su, you wait here for my news. Once the subgate opens, you can just walk straight through. It's both safe and fast. Target, Redstone Canyon. Altitude, 1,500. Maintain radio silence. Depart. 5 combat aircraft plunged straight north. Beneath the clouds, the faint outlines of a flock of flying dragons glided past. The atmosphere in the cabin was heavy with tension. Attention, attention! There are 7 flying dragons below the cloud layer," the pilot warned in a low voice. "No need to worry." La John leaned back in his seat.
We not only have radar evading, stealth coding, but also the beast repellent mist developed by Dr. Su. As long as we don't provoke them, they won't detect us. 40 minutes later, the blood-red ground, like congealed blood, appeared in sight. Target area detected. Signs of large creature activity below. Recommend preemptive fire clearance. Approved. I looked at the dark shadows coiling below and gave the order. The attack helicopter's rockets immediately swept the ground. Amidst the tragic roars of the rock-armored giants, we rappelled down to the ground. I quickly walked towards that magnificent cliff. System, anchor point, establishment, complete. A gloomy blue light gate suddenly opened in the wilderness of the other world. Behind it was the brightly lit warehouse on Earth. Passage established successfully. I wiped away sweat. Captain Lee, send those giants through. Amidst thunderous rumbling, the tracks of the main battle tanks directly crushed the redstone layer. In less than 5 minutes, the tank formation was deployed, their dark muzzles locked onto, deep within the dust cloud. Several colossal rock-armored giants roared and charged out, attempting to defend their territory. Looks like the local residents aren't too welcoming, I sneered, retreating behind the armor. All tank crews, attention, fire at will. The 125mm main gun demonstrated absolute suppressive power. The Alpha Lizard was instantly blown into a pile of shredded meat. Its remaining kin were completely torn apart in the metal firestorm of the 30mm autocannons. All clear. Dr. Su, you can come through now. Suan stepped through the light gate and entered Redstone Canyon. Looking at the off-the-charts mineral readings on her scanner, she gasped, "My God! The purity is even higher than I imagined. This energy density, even if it's not used for batteries, it's enough to be directly used as high-energy explosives. With these things, not just batteries, we might even be able to try replicating their energy shield technology. We need to quickly build a sealed laboratory here. The night storms and radiation won't wait for us. Then go all out." I pointed at the construction vehicles continuously pouring out from behind. This place will be our new staging point. After returning to base, a holographic map outlining the Red Death Zone of Haitian City was displayed in the command center. According to the Lighthouse camp's documents, the Tianqiang building was Haishan City's technology hub before the disaster. Suan pointed to the isolated island surrounded by zombie nests. The 3 basement levels housed the supercomputer center. Above ground, there were 80 floors. Floors 50 and 60 were biological laboratories. Floors 70 and 80 were energy research institutes. Most importantly, the building had an independent energy system, a thermonuclear power plant. Theoretically, it could maintain basic operations. But the problem is, how do we get in? Thermonuclear? Li Zhan's expression turned serious. Dr. Su, are you sure? That's controlled thermonuclear fusion. Suan nodded in confirmation. If we can obtain the technical data for that equipment on Earth's side, then we absolutely must get it, I said in a low voice. Facing a front line of millions of zombies, a conventional breakthrough would be suicide. We can't attack head-on. Battalion commander of the armored battalion. Li Zhan pointed to the industrial zone on the outer ring. We need to use a more direct method. And then what? I pressed. Then, a cold, bloodthirsty smile spread across Li Zhan's face. Request to deploy bombers from the airfield in incendiary bombing. Burn the entire city center to ashes. Then burn it all. Use napalm bombs and white phosphorus bombs. Turn the entire Red Death Zone into a sea of fire. But the Tianqiang building, Suan frowned tightly. The building is a reinforced concrete structure. Plus, it has an independent energy system. Theoretically, it can withstand high temperatures. Furthermore, we don't need to burn down the entire city. Just clear a safe path. Then send ground forces into the building. What about the flying mutated beasts? That's why we need to build an anti-air defense. Li Zhan's finger traced the map. This operation isn't a small-scale raid. It's a full-fledged military campaign. We will establish our first proper military base in the other world. So, how long will it take? Suan asked. Engineer Wang, why don't you tell us? Director Zhao spoke up. According to drone reconnaissance, that industrial zone has an area of approximately 2 square kilometers. If we deploy 2 battalions of combat engineers using heavy machinery, it's estimated to take 3 days to clear and level the ground for a runway. But this is the ideal scenario. If we encounter large-scale zombie interference, it might take longer. Then reinforce the defenses. Director Zhao looked at the armored battalion commander, Li Jian. Your armored battalion is responsible for perimeter security. You absolutely must ensure construction safety. Understood? So what's the total operation cycle? Suan asked. 5 days, Engineer Wang calculated quickly. 5 days. Li Jian took a deep breath. Operation approved. For the sake of fusion technology, this risk is well worth it. Operation code name, Blazing Inferno. Execution approved. Director Zhao made the final call. 3 days later, the once desolate industrial zone has been transformed into a steel runway. Passing through the Level 3 light gate, batches of disassembled fighter jet parts were delivered and rapidly assembled. Inside the hangar, 6 H-6K bombers loaded with hellish combos bared their lethal teeth. Commander, reporting. Airfield construction is complete. The bombers are fully assembled. Ready for take-off at any moment. Very well. Li Jian stood on the air traffic control tower. Everything is ready. Requesting final approval for the bombing mission. Execution approved. Director Zhao issued the final order. Notify the pilots to board their aircraft. Roger that. The roar of massive engines echoed across the wasteland. This is Thunder Squadron. Preparing for takeoff. Takeoff cleared. 6 bombers and 8 J-16 fighters roared into the sky, heading straight for Haishan City. Target confirmed. The Red Death Zone in the center of Haishan City. Suddenly intercepted by flying dragons in midair. Heads up, aerial targets detected ahead, approximately 30 of them, identified as carrion wyverns. They're closing in on us. Roger. Escort squadron, prepare to intercept. Don't let them get anywhere near the bombers. Li Jian gave the cold command. Target locked. Prepare to fire. PL-15 missiles wove a web of death from beyond visual range. 2 minutes later, the threat vanished into thin air. Threat neutralized. Resuming escort. Excellent. Entering target airspace. Commencing bomb drop. Bombing order received. Preparing to release. Hundreds of napalm bombs rained down on the city like a torrential storm. Amidst the thunderous explosions, the Red Death Zone turned into molten lava. A sea of fire and black smoke swallowed the sky. Reporting. First bombing run complete. Target area temperature has reached 800 degrees Celsius. Keep going. Li Jian's voice was ice cold. Burn every last one of those zombies to ash. The bombing runs continued in shifts, scouring the earth for an entire day. By dusk, the Demon's Den, once occupied by millions of zombies, had become a scorched wasteland. Commander, reporting. Target area cleared. Estimated survival rate of the zombies is less than 1%. Good. Director Zhao stared at the screen and said, Li Jian, ground forces are cleared for entry. The next day, the armored convoy rolled through the still warm ruins, arriving at the Chengxiong building. 4 teams quickly fanned out. Li Jian led his men up the emergency elevator straight to the 80th floor. This was the heart of the Energy Research Institute. Found it. Li Jian pushed open the lab door. The generator, the fusion energy, and carbon-based chips were sitting quietly in the safe. Scan the data quickly. Open them up. The cutters sliced through the final barrier. All data from the supercomputing center has been backed up. Biolab specimens collected. Equipment blueprints from the Energy Institute scanned. Core data for the fusion power plant downloaded. Li Jian looked at the heavy chips and blueprints in his hands. He felt the weight of humanity's power returning. Mission accomplished. Prepare to withdraw. Commander, a wax radar has detected a massive aerial target signature 150 kilometers away. They're approaching at high speed. As the convoy drove out of the ruins, the comms channel exploded with a frantic warning from air traffic control. Report target characteristics. Li Jian ordered calmly. The radar screen was a solid block of red. It's not a wyvern swarm. These signatures are denser, more fragmented. It's the corpse vultures. At least 100,000 of them. 100,000? That number made the air in the vehicle freeze. The accompanying experts turned pale. Those are highly venomous scavengers. Once they catch the scent of blood, they'll hunt you down like rabid dogs. How much ammo does the J-16 squadron have left? Li Jian asked. Ammunition is depleted. The convoy is 12 kilometers away. 15 minutes at full speed. Estimated contact in 8 minutes. That 7-minute gap is a death sentence. It's fine even without missiles. Li Jian's gaze turned ruthless. J-16 squadron, execute Shepherd tactics. They're just beasts, not an army. Li Jian sneered coldly. Since they're beasts, they'll be afraid of thunder. 10,000 meters up in the sky. 8 fighters suddenly dove down for a strafing run. Attention! Engage afterburners and perform a supersonic flyby across the battlefield. A terrifying sonic boom struck like a bolt from the heavens. The supersonic shockwave shattered the internal organs of the lead vultures. The charging formation of the 100,000-strong swarm collapsed instantly. Beautifully done, the ground anti-air battalion commander pumped his fist. But this was only a delay. After a brief moment of chaos, their bloodthirsty instincts took over, and they locked onto the convoy again. Convoy, full speed ahead. Forget the formation. Li Jian gripped the handrail and barked the order. Distance, 100 kilometers, within optimal intercept range of the HQ-16F system. First volley. Launch 24 missiles. Thousands of vultures fell from the center of the black cloud, but tens of thousands more survived and continued the pursuit. Distance, 15 kilometers, within effective range of the LD-3000 system. Fire. Provide cover. Fire for the convoy. 4 miles-long whips of fire wove an absolute wall of death. A fire rate of 11,000 rounds per minute erased massive chunks of the black tide trying to swallow the convoy. A few vultures that slipped through the net slammed into the roof of the command vehicle. It sounded like a violent hailstorm. The twin 35mm anti-aircraft guns on both sides of the runway immediately unleashed a torrent of lead, building a wall of steel that could not be breached. The cost of nearly 30,000 carcasses finally broke the swarm. The convoy roared through the airport's main gate. Li Jian pushed the door open and stepped out. His boots crunched on the thick, reddish-black slush of meat. Call the tower. Fuel is low. Requesting landing. Landing cleared. I watched the 8 fighters landing and spoke to the trembling Suan beside me. This is the storm of steel you wanted. In the face of absolute fire density, numbers mean nothing. I see now. Suan nodded. Before, we only thought about how to hide. But now, I know how to win. Let's go. Back to Earth. With this data, the next batch we send won't just be anti-aircraft guns. 2 days later, the real world. So these are the prototype blueprints for the fusion generator? Academician Wang was so excited his hands were shaking. The blue light of the screen reflected in his glasses. It's not just blueprints. There's complete experimental data and the core material formulas. I pointed at the lines of data. With these, we can definitely build the first operational miniature fusion reactor within 3 months. 3 months? Old Wang took off his glasses and wiped away his tears. If we followed our original schedule, it would have taken at least another 30 years. Comrade Lin Han, you've brought back the entire future of this country. This means we'll be completely free from energy constraints. It means our industrial capacity will see an explosive surge. It means we'll hold the ultimate trump card in international competition. You're overstating it, Old Wang. This is only the beginning. Next, we have carbon-based chips, city defense systems. These technologies will completely revolutionize our industrial system. The state has established the Project Flint Task Force, with me as the commander-in-chief. We'll mobilize the nation's top experts to go all out and break through these technologies. Whether it's manpower, funding, or equipment, just say the word. The country will give you its full support. Right now, the thing we lack most is still redstone, I said thoughtfully. Upgrading solid-state hydrogen battery technology, as well as high-energy weapons for future development, all depend on this high-energy stabilizer. Although we've cleared the path to Redstone Canyon, the mining output still can't keep up. Don't you worry about that, Old Wang said with confidence. The engineering corps has already moved in. High Command has ordered that, at any cost, even if we have to hollow out that mountain, we will ensure the supply of raw materials. I nodded and looked out the window. The industrial zone had turned into a massive construction site. The nation's war machine was running at full throttle for the total invasion of another world.